Hello, it's Thursday. Nope, it's Wednesday, my dudes. Are you ready to
Oh, it is Thursday.
It's Thursday.
wait? It's
Today
Wednesday.
is Thursday.
Well, this
Time
is
is a construct. It's
time.
fine.
Time is a flat circle. It's time for Hey, did you see this one? Fuck it, we'll do it live. Hello and welcome to Hey, did you see this one? The weekly podcast show on internet where we talk about movies and film and movies and all of that sort of stuff, mostly movies. It is Beefy Hunk Action Month. We're talking Judge Dredd. We have Cassandra Hodgins back on the show. Hello.
Hello.
Cassandra, as I like to call you.
Welcome back.
Your will. Hold on. I'm stalling. No, that's not. What I was
Oh,
looking for.
God.
There we go. I don't know.
Hi.
There we go. Pass is back. As I said in the intro when I was meandering all over the place, it is Thursday night, not Wednesday. Why did I think that it was Wednesday? What did we?
I don't know.
What did we do last night? Because
We watched
What
two
did we
movies.
do last night?
Yeah.
my
It
brain,
was a dreadful evening, I'll tell you that much.
our brains are all scrambled up. Steve's got a headache. Cass
I got
broke
a headache.
Cass broke two computers trying to get this together.
It's true.
I don't know what day of the
The
week it is.
technology has failed me. I will say though, it is nice that I have my phone set up because I can sit on the couch and I'm very comfortable.
That's
So
great.
that's a plus.
And you're using your ring light. I can see it in the
My ring
reflection of
light.
your glasses.
I know. That's why I always have to do my self-tape without them because I'm like, you can just clearly see the light.
So yeah, we are talking Judge Dredd, the 1995 film
Hello.
starring a man
I'm above the law.
with a mush mouth, Sylvester Stallone. It is that time of year where we talk about some action boys, so we landed on this one, but we're doing something kind of special this time around. This is the first time ever we've done this, but we're actually we watched Judge Dredd, and then we watched 2013's Dredd, starring Carl Urban, and we made a decision last night to, normally if we watch something else that's in the same vein, we try not to talk about it, but tonight we're going to kind of compare and contrast a little bit. We didn't take notes for the second movie, so by that time we had a beer, and
I didn't take notes for any of the
A
movies.
single beer for
Yes.
ure.
And
Yeah, I definitely didn't drink 8 beers last night at all.
Whoopsie.
whoops. So
And yet I have this mysterious headache today for some reason. I don't know what's going on there.
this weird headache that hurts my head. I had to go to a stupid office myself. It sucked.
Ugh,
Um,
I hear you.
but like we do each and every week, to start off the show, it's a brief history.
A brief history.
Gets me every time.
I know. Forget every time that one's ridiculous. A brief history.
History.
That's
We all do our Steven impressions for the rest of the podcast.
Yeah, you guys are really good at doing impressions of me.
Yeah, that's the only impression I'm good at, really. It's nothing compared to your Stallone accent. That's what I call it, an accent.
I didn't break the law.
I am the law.
It's good.
That said,
I was probably very annoying last night. Max von Sydow and Stallone in one movie. Oof. Somebody stop me.
somebody
trap.
stop me. It is a tradition around these parts that we let the guest give their history first. So, Cass, why don't you hit us with your history of Dredd and Judge Dredd?
Oh, okay. Well, Judge Dredd is very short and sweet. I watched it last night, and it was delightful. Very interestingly different than my original introduction to Dredd, which was the 2012, 2013 one. And that was my everything for a while. I don't know if you've noticed this about me, but I tend to get a little bit hyperfixated on certain things that I love. And this was something that another movie that I watched many, many times over. I just absolutely fell in love with it. I loved how gritty it was, how like the very specific kind of comic-like violence in it was beautiful. The set design was beautiful, like kind of, I don't know, B-list-ish in a way. Like it didn't have a crazy high budget, but they spent all the budget on all the drug scenes in slow-mo, and it was chef's kiss, beautiful. So I was obsessed, and watching the original one was a very different experience for me. I loved it. I didn't love it. I had hilarious moments of laughter. I also questioned many things about our society, how much we've changed. I had a great time. And I also will say, I love watching stuff with you guys. It is a blasty blast to just sit on the couch and be like, let's go. So that's my first, I guess, introduction to this entire genre of Dredd.
Wednesday night movie club in effect last night. We didn't have Brian. Yeah. Brian went to see a TIFF movie. Brian. Fancy hey, fan. Look, it's Tim in the chat. Hey, Tim, friend of the show.
Hi, Tim. I don't know you, but hi.
I will say, I think you and Tim are fighting for the 4-time club. I think you just edged him out a little bit for 4 times. 4 times on the show. Dude. I think the only person that's been on the show that many times now is Ben, maybe?
Has he been on 4 times?
He did a whole Carpenter month, didn't he? Or was it just 3 times?
I think he just did 3 Carpenters that month.
And I guess technically, since you were our first guest, Steve, you've been on 80.
I've been guesting every week since I showed up.
90 times or some shit. Yeah, so Cass, we're gonna have you on 90 more times, and you're gonna beat Steve. Actually, I don't think unless Steve isn't on several episodes, I don't think you can actually edge him out. So that's the end of the show for this week.
Well, we'll
see. Bye.
I'm out of here.
Steve, why don't you give us a brief history? Of your time with these fabulous movies.
I mean, Judge Dredd as a character has been sort of like in and out of my life since the beginning. I believe his inception was not too long before I was born. I want to say it was the late 70s, maybe?
I think the
character was created in 1977.
Oh.
But, you know, I was never huge into the comic books, but I do have a couple of the one-off stories. I wasn't like... a massive fan, but it was one of those things that my parents knew that I liked, so every once in a while they'd be like, hey, I got you a Dredd comic. I don't think they realized how violent it was, but the movie that we were meant to review this week, I was uncertain if I had seen it or not. It's one of those movies that it existed, it was on TV in the 90s, and my brain just likes to do things sometimes where it combines movies together into one. So little bits of this, little bits of Demolition Man, and a little bits of Meteor Man, all kind of molded together to create a movie. And we've done Meteor Man on the show now. We haven't done Demolition Man, but I now know the difference between the 3. I'm like, oh, they're not all one movie. But yeah, this movie, I last night was realizing, like, I don't even think I've seen this. To be honest, I think I've seen bits and pieces of it throughout my life, but I once again was just filling in the blanks with Demolition Man because Rob Schneider and Stallone are both in that as well, and he's more or less playing the same character. You know, he's the law. He's past cop or whatever. And then, you know, the second movie we watched last night, Dredd, I saw that in theaters, and when it came out, I immediately purchased it, and like you, Cass, I watched it over and over again. It was one of those movies where we'd come home from the bar and we'd be like, let's put a movie on. Let's put on Dredd. I want to see people get blown up in slow motion.
So good.
It is very good. The special effects, like you were saying, are just pleasant to the eye. Even though they're gruesome, it's pleasant. That guy getting his head melted at the beginning is just, stunning. I want to watch it over and over again. Um,
Lulls me to sleep.
yeah, I don't know a ton about the history of Dread itself in terms of it getting made into a movie, but I do know a little bit about the 2012 version, and I know that I believe Carl Urban holds the rights to Dread and has been trying to get it made into another movie or a television show for quite some time. And I, for one, would love that, but I know he's a little busy right now with all the other projects that he does because he's a real hot commodity right now. But I think if the world cools off a bit, United States of America, why don't you guys get your police force in line? Maybe we can get a cool Dread movie out of it.
Get it together.
Or make the movie a complete commentary on the unhinged nature of the police of the United States.
Mm-hmm.
And to a lesser extent here, I think that our cops are not, golden people as well. They're not above the law, but sometimes they act
They
like
are the law.
They are the
They are
law.
the law.
So yeah, not a huge history with Judge Dredd, the film from 1995, but quite an extensive history of violence with Dredd from 2012. I've probably seen it 25 times. Last night, making 26. But yeah, that's it for me.
Cool. That's reasonable. I think that last night's they switch a little bit. Last night's first movie is a commentary on how out of control cops are now, and then Dredd plays as almost how we saw the police in the 90s and kind of held them up here. Anyway, we'll get into all that and more. My history with this movie is I'm pretty sure I saw it in 1997 when I was a kid. I have this thing that I've talked about many times on the show where I think every movie is the scariest movie, especially if they're action, especially if they're horror. This movie is significantly less bloody despite its R rating. That's right, this movie is rated R for some reason. I think it's because
Is it not PG-13?
No,
I thought
it's rated R. There's a couple F-bombs in it, I think. And
that'll do it.
That'll push the rating right up. But I do believe that I saw this as a kid. And I've always liked Judge Dredd and I've always liked Stallone's performance in this, for better or for worse. It's real campy and funny. When it comes to Judge 2013 or 2012, I think it was 2012. Let's just say it's 2012 for the sake of
continuity.
Yes. I've seen it. I was my friend of the show, Ben Mason, lent it to me. I watched it on my PSVR, which allowed me to watch it in 3D in the comfort of my own home, which is pretty cool, I would say. But the thing is I think I watched it when I was drunk or something, because I only remember him getting to the building and starting his ascent. So, or maybe I didn't finish it or something, because I have a weird mental block for some reason. Steve, are you okay? Do you need me to call the police?
No.
Or a judge?
No.
No
judges around here, please.
The funny thing about this that I always forget is that they're not just regular police. They've outlawed judges, so when they show up, they're sentencing right on the spot. And I had kind of forgotten that concept watching it last night. I've been thinking about it all day. So
that's the whole concept.
I know that's the whole concept.
Judge Dredd.
I know, I get it, but I didn't wrap my head around it until I sat with it all day.
It's just a cleaner judicial system.
Yeah.
Is it though?
No,
Is it, though?
it's a terrible, terrible way to do things. But in the reality of these movies and comic books, it just makes things a little bit quicker. Just to have a cop just say 5 years, you're going away for 5 years for loitering.
True.
For loitering.
For loitering. So
take them away.
That's my history.
Talking back is another 5 years.
Yeah.
Yeah. Talking back to a judge. 2 years.
So now the thing that we like to do each and every week is just get into it. Just
the body of the episode.
Also, I found a great resource for this show. I found just a text list of all the MPAA ratings, but I'm going to add something to this. This is where I'm going to say what the actual rating, the PG-13 rated R part. I'm going to say that here now. going to say the MPAA rating, 33,904. And this movie was rated R.
The MPAA, everyone. The MPAA. Wow.
It gives a little bit more to the segment.
Sure. Wow. Just to get all the clips out of the way right away.
Yeah, exactly. Other than that, I think we're just in it now. So I don't know if you guys want to run down the plot. Cass, do you want to give us a quick plot synopsis of both movies? Just a quick. You don't have to say the whole movie.
That's a good question. I feel like last night when we were watching, I was like mostly paying attention, and then I was like, was I paying attention to this movie at all? We've got I can't remember his character's name, but the prisoner guy comes back from prison
Rico?
and he's like, ooh, yeah, no.
Rob Schneider's character.
Rob Schneider's about to find out that being the sidekick of Judge Dredd isn't all it's cracked up to be in this 24 judgment comedy. Sorry.
His name is Fergie.
Beautiful. Fergie Ferg is coming back from prison.
Of the Black Eyed Peas.
And she's just singing songs and doing cartwheels in a cab, flying over New York, or what I think is New York. They have a Statue of Liberty. And he gets into trouble immediately, as you would in this city that is horrible and violent, and rioters are apparently never tired, because I think they riot all day and then they just do that more.
They're on drugs.
They're on drugs.
It's their job. They clock in. They clock in at the riot factory.
And they're like, drugs. And then that's the day. Anyway, bunch of crime happens. Bunch of judges show up. It's like, ooh, gunfight. And then Judge Dredd shows up, and he is the best. From what everybody is saying, he is the best. So I believe that he is the best.
He's like the one that everyone's heard of on the streets. Like if you're a criminal and Judge Dredd shows up, you're scared. You're shaking in your little rioter booties.
Exactly. You see his little badge, and you're like, "Oh, I'm in trouble." And
it's actually a giant badge. It's so huge.
It's like bigger than his face.
Their badges are like the size of like a face mask.
You need to be able to read it from far away, I think.
That's true.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But anyway, he does this whole thing, kills a bunch of people, and sentences people to prison, including Fergie Ferg. And so what happens after that? Dredd is like talking to his boss, and his boss is like, wow, you're the best. You got to train some people. So he starts training people. And then we got like this evil guy, Rico, who breaks out of prison, and that was actually honestly really cool. I like that scene a lot.
It doesn't make any sense, but it was cool.
Yeah. That's all I needed. Very camp.
It reminded me of Magneto, like pulling somebody's iron out of their blood to like break out of the.
Sure. Well, it was like the long like bridge over abyss. Where I was like, I've seen that.
How does he shoot him again? He has like a weird like makeshift like plastic gun or something that he puts together real quick. I can't remember how.
I think it was like it was like a badge or something that
he hands him something and he goes
a gun.
Yeah, he like transformers it like a transformer toy into a gun and just shoots him in the neck so that the guy can't use the voice commands to stop the machine guns from shooting everybody in the cell, but it only shoots the warden. He's like the warden of the prison, I guess, right? I don't know.
So. The logic wasn't there for me, but the camp was, so that's okay.
Yeah, you don't need it in a movie like this.
No, you don't.
Have you seen his costume? Come on.
It's a lot of spandex.
Yeah.
Not good body armor.
No.
Yes, exactly. Then what happens? He breaks out. Judge Dredd. No. Rico is evil. And he goes to this gun shop, and he gets this really cool robot who deserved way more. And then there's like a whole thing where Dredd is like seen on camera like killing people that are like innocent people, and people are like, oh no. There's a whole trial. His best friend / maybe girlfriend, Hershey's Kiss, is his lawyer, I think, and he still loses the trial even though he is the law. He gets sent to prison with Fergie Ferg.
The law, I am the law.
But then a bunch of like cannibals shoot down the ship. And then there was a
they're
bunch
like
of
Hills Have
cannibals for a bit.
Eyes, with Texas Chainsaw
Texas
Massacre
Chainsaw.
style
Resident
family.
Evil, like, yeah, exactly.
Sure, yeah. I would say Texas Chainsaw Massacre because that's sort of the template, right? That everybody goes back to when they're making these horror movies and stuff. And it's sort of a cliche, but at the same time, it's fun because they're all unique looking and weird, and you'll recognize the father from The Walking Dead.
Herschel is like the leader, and
he's the foremost expert on playing an old man in the apocalypse. And
typecasting.
He and his family basically capture them, and you find out, kind of midway through their capturing, Rob Schneider is on the menu. They're gonna eat him.
Yum, delicious. And then what happens? We got like a whole like side moment happening with like the judges being the worst and evil, and like, oh my god, I forgot about Obi-Wan, which is not his name, but the main guy who was like Dredd's mentor.
Max von Sydow. I don't remember the character's name. He's a judge as well. Judge Fargo. The names in this movie not great. No one's name is good.
Can we just take 1 second to appreciate that her name is she, and she's the only girl in the movie, and you guys made a great joke. Do you want to say it? I'm not going to steal your joke.
Oh, I don't even know if I meant it as a joke. I just made a very quick observation, and it was hilarious. Her name is just her pronouns.
Yeah.
It's her, she, and he, she, her. Just swap them, and you got it. You got a name.
When you said that to me, I was like, is that an accident? Or did they do that on purpose?
I think it might have been on purpose. I think they were like, I have no creative brain to make
this guy's like, I'm going to make this really boring, standard, uninspired female character. And I'm going to call her, she.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I will say, I've been talking about this plot, which is why I clearly wasn't paying attention, or I forgot. They also had like a whole scene where he's like breaking out of prison or something. And he's like, you got to believe me. And she's like, what? But I don't know if that scene was important at all.
A lot of this movie doesn't resonate. It doesn't stay in your head. Like, we watched the movie, and in between the two movies, I was like, what just happened in that movie? I can't even remember. I know that Judge Dredd immediately goes back to work after solving his own case, but I don't really remember anything else.
I think that might be the most important part, because he is.
Yeah. I remember that they like exile Max von Sydow because there's a rule that the judges, when they retire, they don't retire. They're like a judge till death, but when they get too old or whatever, they send them into the Badlands to just wander as like a judge for the unjudged or whatever. Like, go out there and judge till the day you die.
And he dies almost immediately.
Which is so annoying. Like, he looks dope. He's got a cool hood. He's got a big old gun.
Spouting wisdom.
He shows up to save the day, and you're like, oh, sick. They're going to have a little adventure with Max von Sydow. Oh, nope. He just got impaled on a giant knife.
Has some last words.
A giant knife.
Yeah, it was
right through the back.
It was the guy who had a knife for an arm. Remember that guy?
I love that guy.
I don't remember his name. He was one of the... I think his name was Mean Machine.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
There was a lot of...
He looks kind of mean.
There was a lot of people shooting each other in the back throughout the movie.
Which is just honestly, like, that's in poor taste. Like, you have some respect for the people that you're fighting. You gotta front on, you know?
So in the interest of getting through the synopsis, just what happens?
Oh my god, I don't know. I'm just trying to remember everything that happened.
They fight back in
the hillbillies guys, and then Rico goes and is like to like the Dredd judge's place, like their main base, and it's like, I got a bunch of clones now. Also, I'm Dredd's brother clone guy.
It's like he's a clone. He's his brother. He also framed him. That's why he's in exile to begin with.
Exactly.
And the whole thing was like a coup to make that one judge get into power, I guess. The guy who's sort of like a smaller Arnold Schwarzenegger. What's his name? Jürgen Prochnow. As Judge Griffin. Yeah. He was in on it. He helped the guy escape from prison. It was orchestrated by him in order to have Judge Dredd get removed so that he could replace Judge Fargo, I suppose, as like the head of the judges. Which it makes sense on the surface level, but you dig any deeper and you're like, none of this is logical.
Mm-hmm.
This wouldn't work. But then they get back to the city. They're trying to stop Rico because Rico has obviously now turned super bad, where he's now betraying even the people that helped him to get into power to begin with. And him and his big sick looking robot take over the courthouses or whatever. And I don't know what their ultimate plan is. They're trying to bring all those clones to life, I guess. There's like a room full of clones.
It's here. I'll do this.
Send in the clones, he says.
Because it's not
Send
clear.
In the clones. Oh.
I have a theory that, because it wasn't super clear, I don't know if they said this as exposition, but it seemed like, and let us know in the chat if you know, but it seemed like they had these stagnant clones that needed DNA injected into them. They needed to have somebody, and Rico.
They weren't
like,
complete. They were They were 60% complete. The movie says.
And Rico is like, I'm gonna put my DNA in these things and get this shit kickstarted, and then we're gonna take over. We're gonna have all clone army Judge Dredds, and we're gonna do more better law. Tim says robot is best part of film.
It is true.
It's true.
That was the most captivating part for me. I was like, oh, I only care about this robot.
I mean, it's very much a 90s movie in that a whole bunch of shit happens, and then we get some cool robot stuff, and then there's a fist fight in the head of the Statue of Liberty, and then bad guy falls to his death, and then good guy kisses the girl for some reason, even though terrible chemistry throughout the
He basically, Rico's plan is to create an army of judges that are cloned from his own DNA, so he's basically just making a bunch of crazy judges, like they're gonna be evil judges. I think there's even like versions of judges in the comic books that are essentially like almost zombie judges, and they're evil. I don't know a ton about the comic. I've only read a couple of them, like I said, and it's been many years. But it's a plan. He has a plan, but you think about the plan for more than 5 seconds and you're like, what happens when all of your crazy clones with your DNA activate? They're going to all immediately turn on you, you psychopath. Like, you're using your own insane DNA to make a whole bunch of you. You're terrible. You're bad. You immediately betrayed everybody who helped you.
So all that convoluted nonsense, which we'll delve down into deeper in a moment here. I just want to give my synopsis of Dredd. After Judge Dredd finishes his day here, this is another one of my theories. These movies take place in the same week. He leaves and he goes out. He goes out and he gets a call, a distress signal, has to go.
No, this is just later. The second movie is just later that day.
When he leaves at the end on his
motorcycle, a big character arc.
He immediately goes and gets on the freeway, and then he gets a distress call from this building. Or he starts chasing guys, and he goes into the building and figures out that there's a drug overlord giving everybody slow-mo, and he basically just action fights his way up the building and has a showdown. And that's pretty much Dredd, comparatively. It's a lot more grounded.
There's a little more to it than that, but yeah, okay.
There's parallel characters in both movies. There's a lot of the Dredds are.
There's a psychic character who's more interesting than Dredd.
Yeah,
Dredd is basically a side character in the movie Dredd.
Yeah, it's like the He-Man movie that we watched last week, where even though it's supposed to be a movie about the action star, he plays second banana. But that said, let's kind of talk about how the times in which these movies were made were vastly different.
Yeah.
In 1995, you had this Judge Dredd plays like a propaganda film. It's like the police are like the action guy. But Judge Dredd traditionally is not. I was reading about Judge Dredd a lot this afternoon. He's not supposed to have any charisma or an ego. He's just supposed to be like, I'm the law.
He's just judgment. That's it.
But the irony...
Just make the call.
I would say that the depiction of Dredd in Dredd, the second movie, is far more accurate to how Judge Dredd should act. And
he never takes his helmet off. And the irony is that because it's Sylvester Stallone, he has to spend most of the movie with his helmet off. So because they
spend too much money on him.
Exactly.
We need to see you.
And he himself has that ego of they got to see the moneymaker. They got to see big forehead, tiny chin. Yeah. And that's how I feel about Sylvester Stallone, by the way.
Well, that was also just symptomatic of the era as well, right? It's just you have to be able to put the guy in commercials and on TV spots and posters in order to sell seats. Whereas Carl Urban was just like, no, I want to make an accurate depiction of the character, and he never takes his helmet off. You see him like for a second at the beginning in silhouette with his helmet off, and he puts it on, and when he puts the helmet on, it never comes off, which is cool. But that's also, I think, they were spending a lot less money on that movie, and it was more of a risk, so they allowed things like that to slide, right? If it was anyone else who would be considered Carl Urban now is like an A-list celebrity, but in 2012 he was sort of a guy who's in movies. He's around, you'll see him every once in a while in things.
He was he was in one of the ill-fated Punisher movies, right? He was a Punisher.
No, he was in Lord of the Rings. He was in Star Trek movies. He was in...
Who was he in Lord of the Rings?
He was...
the original villain?
Yeah, he's one of the horse lords. He's the guy who's like, I would cut your head off your shoulders, dwarf, if it stood higher from the ground. He mastered the Rohirrim. Yeah.
That did not even click for me. Wow. Bad brain. But I did also think that Sylvester Stallone was Robert De Niro last night. So my brain can't be trusted.
Well, I also had a crush on Carl Urban in the Lord of the Rings movie, so I was like, who's this handsome horseman? He's been in lots of stuff. He's one of those journeyman actors that's, you look at his resume and you're like, man, you've been in like every cool thing ever. He was in the Thor movie. Remember when he plays the guy with the machine guns?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My bad. I was thinking of Thomas Jane Punisher, and also Ray Stevenson Punisher.
The other two Punishers?
The other Punishers that are completely different.
All you have to do is look at Carl Urban's IMDb page for 5 seconds and realize, man, this guy he's in a lot of good stuff. Yeah. He's also in a lot of bad stuff.
He is probably really nice to work with. I feel like he just gives me like good dude, good energy.
Yeah.
Vibes.
I think the fact that was willing to be so what do I want to say here? To honor the comic book so accurately, and to stick to how the character is on the page rather than be concerned about, I want people to know that I'm in this movie.
It's a lack of ego, right? It's just like, I am just doing the story.
If you're not familiar with Carl Urban, you're going to look at the new Judge Dredd movie and go, who is this? I don't know who this is, because you cannot see his face the entire movie. It's almost to the level of just doing a voice acting role.
Yeah.
And sourpuss acting, where he's just got that
he does a lot of like actiony stuff though. Like he was in Doom, he was in Pathfinder, he plays Bones in the Star Trek reboots.
Yeah.
I mentioned those already.
Sorry, I'm just looking at his.
You're just reading the IMDb page now.
Yeah,
cool.
I just took a little side quest myself. He was in Riddick. Okay, you say that already?
Yeah, I know Riddick, one of my favorite movies ever made. The Chronicles of Riddick. Actually, that's the one he's in.
He's in Chronicles of Riddick, and then also Riddick.
I think he dies in the Chronicles of Riddick. It's a flashback, probably.
Spoilers.
Rule of the Dark.
Oh, sorry to spoil a movie that came out in like 2003.
Hey, they might make a new Riddick movie, and then it'll be important. It'll be in the zeitgeist again.
I don't know. He is. I think there's a scene in the newer Riddick movie that came out in 2013 where it's like he's just like a flashback. So it's like Carl Urban just showed up just to be like a good guy, to be like, yeah, I'll come back and play this weird skunk head for 5 minutes at the beginning of the movie. I think it just shows him betray Riddick, and that's how it's like, why is Riddick not the king of the necromorphs anymore, or whatever the hell their name was? I don't know if you guys are familiar with Riddick lore.
No, that's a comic book movie though, right?
No, that's
just an original
from the mind of Vin Diesel movie.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, Carl Urban also plays an uncredited stormtrooper. Like he just does little things that are fun. Hey, look at Stallone though. Stallone is like, hey, you got to see me, my face, and everything I do, and I'm the main character of everything. I thought it was weird that Stallone showed up as a scavenger, or what are they called? A Ravager in the Guardians movies. That's the only time I've ever seen him play a side character. Really.
Well, I think he's aware of his position now. Like he shows up as, you know, the coach in the Rocky movies and stuff.
True,
it's
and
like
he's got a TV show now too.
I don't think that there's like a lot of problematic stories about Sylvester Stallone like out there. I don't think that he's particularly a bad apple.
It's also like a kind of thing of the time, right? Like I don't know if it was necessarily maybe even his own ego, but like producers and directors being like, we need a face, we need this, so you're gonna be that. That's your job now. And you are now this action star. You are everything. It's the same thing that happened to Schwarzenegger. Mm-hmm. Like good fucking dude, super chill, super humble,
charisma. And these guys got that charisma. Though.
But like he was also told like you are now the face of everything action, so do it.
Well, you also like forget. Some people forget that like Sylvester Stallone won an Oscar for writing Rocky. Like he wrote Rocky himself, and it was awarded a little golden trophy. Like he's not a meat bag like people think that he is, right? He's a smart person. And he's artistic, and I think he maybe put a little too much of his weight into the Rocky franchise, because I'm not particularly a huge fan of Rocky, but like I'm aware that it is good, and I think that it's a good movie. I'm just like I know people that watch Rocky every year at like Christmas. It's like their Christmas movie that they watch, and I'm like, you're weird. I'm gonna go watch The Nightmare Before Christmas like a normal person.
I'm gonna watch Batman Returns like a normal person.
Anyway, I forget where my mind was going there. I think we were just talking about how like that was the way things worked in Hollywood in the 90s, was like you have to have your money maker, and Judge Dredd was not the money maker. It was Stallone that was the money maker. And it's not necessarily just him, but there's a person there, but there's also a team of people around him, right? On both sides of like his actual team and the team working on the production itself. And you know what? At the end of the day, this movie kind of rules a little bit, but it does suffer from short-term memory loss, in the sense that when you watch it at the end, you're like, I don't remember what happened in this. I just know there was a lot of cool, shiny stuff.
Like cool moments. There's like a really cool chase on some like flying speeders that goes on for a while, and you're just kind of like, whoa, this is happening. Or like that fist fight at the end, and I love a fist fight on the top of things, you know. And it's
because you're a simple man.
I'm simple.
Mufasa and Scar just having a moment.
Deadpool,
real
Wolverine,
Lion King,
and X-Men Origin on top of
the greatest movie ever made.
But they have a fist fight inside a head, and I was like, it all comes to a head, literally.
Oh wow, yeah, this movie ends exactly like the first X-Men movie.
That too.
On the top of the Statue of Liberty. Which I think is just the Statue of Liberty, but I do know that that's where the laboratory is. The Statue of Liberty has been turned into a secret cloning laboratory, which conceptually sick. I love that. I love that the Statue of Liberty is just a cloning lab
in a giant person.
Cool.
Yeah. They do talk about like mega city, like the statue. It's mega city. It's not New York. It's mega city. So I think it's the amalgamation of maybe a whole seaboard. And they talk about how they moved the Statue of Liberty inland, and they do that thing that I hate, where Hershey and Dredd talk about something that happened. My eyes glaze over when people talk about a war or a battle that's not in the movie. The worst offender is when Hawkeye and Black Widow always talk about that battle they had. Remember back?
Yeah, but that's not to elicit like the battle. That's to show the strength between those two people.
That. It bugs me though.
But also like exposition.
Why does it bug you?
It makes me.
How dare they have a backstory?
Yeah, fuck these people.
It makes me want to see the thing, and they should.
I know, but I can agree with you in this movie, because they're just doing it to be like, a war happened. Remember the war? But in the Avengers, it's like, no, it's meant to show that these two characters have known each other and trust each other. That's what the point of that is, right?
I get it. I still hate it.
It's weird. That's weird to me. You're weird. You're a weirdo.
We're all friends.
But I agree with yes. But I do agree with you in this movie. It's kind of annoying. But like something like Star Wars, where he's like, "You fought in the Clone Wars?" Like you're like, Judge Dredd fought in the Clone Wars. No, but you're like,
Judge Dredd is a Mandalorian, okay?
I know what you mean, but
there was a lot of Star Wars in this. So
I want to know what the Clone Wars is, right? And so for like 20 years of my life, or not 20 years of my life, like 10, 11 years of my life, I was like, what the fuck is the Clone Wars? And then I finally got to see what the Clone Wars is when they made the prequels. So they answered that question. But like for years and years and years, people speculated and like came up with their own ideas and their own imagination of what that thing could be. So I think there's like an inherent value in seeding something like that, especially in something that you know is going to be a large franchise, because then there's the potential that you do get to go and explain and explore that at some point.
Yeah.
Not
This
necessarily
one was not
Judge Dredd,
getting
though. We're not going to see.
sequel.
Yeah, no, this movie, I don't think it made a terrible amount of money.
It
but
made 100. It grossed 117 mil, and it cost like 70 mil to make. So, didn't do great. But I mean, it didn't get a sequel.
Not enough to make a sequel.
No,
if
Cass,
it like
made
doubled its budget, maybe.
You made a good point. It was very Star Warsy, like throughout.
Oh, the
man,
music,
straight out the gate,
imagery, like, and also like there were Indiana Jones aspects to it. Like it felt. This is the thing. I think this is why I got a little bit lost in the sauce about midway through this movie, is that it was just trying to do too much. And everything that they did, I was like, cool moment, cool moment, cool moment, cool moment. But I had no through line. But I could recognize all of those kind of references. I could recognize kind of the Star Wars track. I recognized the Millennium Falcon-esque and like the desert planet and like them in the cave with these like cannibal people with like
even
Stallone being like he might as well have had a Indiana Jones hat on and been like, I'm gonna get out of this situation.
It
like,
belongs in a museum.
Yeah.
Even the guards, like immediately the guards that are releasing the prisoners back into society, they evoke
Stormtrooper.
They evoke the imagery of stormtroopers, and you're like, I'm digging this to a certain degree, but if it wasn't for like the Alan Silvestri score, if it was anything less interesting cinematically in terms of cinematography, all of this would look horribly goofy. And you would be like, ugh, this is not great. But because you have the score, because you have the interesting camera angles, and you do have a lot of budget clear on screen in terms of the costumes, it looks good. Like everything looks pretty sturdy.
It's true.
The costumes aren't amazing, but they're pretty good, and they're comic accurate to a degree. Maybe almost to a fault, because you kind of wish they were a little bit heavier looking, like those jackets that they wear underneath their armor. You're like, can you make those a little thicker? Like they look a little too thin.
The mega city looked a lot like your Blade Runners, your Fifth Elements, your Super Mario,
Cyberpunk.
Yeah, Cyberpunk, like Night City, the Mario Brothers movie, where it's like, I know I had to fit that in there.
It's just fun. I think it's funny.
I started with Blade Runner that time, at least.
I know.
Steve always gives me a hard time.
Well, we were watching the movie last night, and then immediately when it shows the city, Jason's like, wow, this is a lot like the Mario Brothers movie.
But do you know
I'm
why?
like, not Blade Runner, like the thing that most people go to.
But it's also not wrong.
There's a specificity to it, though. The reason why this one really reminded me of Mario is because how like chaotic everything was, and how all the costumes people were wearing were like, if you look at the people in the crowds, it was a lot more leather and a lot weirder. There was one person that was like dressed like the Big Bertha character from the Mario movie at one point. Anyway,
this is just making me feel like you're not familiar with Blade Runner, but
no, I've seen Blade Runner. I get it. I know Blade Runner, but Blade Runner has like a Neo Tokyo aesthetic to it.
I mean, if you take 2 seconds to look at the background in Blade Runner, you can see that people are dressed like the Mario Brothers movie. Like it's great.
Obviously,
there's people with like glowing umbrellas and stuff.
Obviously,
like,
the people
my dream.
Obviously, the nightmare people that made the Mario Brothers movie were riffing on a Blade Runner kind of. Thing.
They were like, "Can we just make it Blade Runner, please?
Can we just make Mario Blade Runner?
We're just gonna have weird Adam West era of camera angles for everything."
But then when you fast forward to 2013 and you look at the Dredd movie, it's a completely different vibe. It's got like,
it's more realistic. It feels like a nasty city.
Yeah, it's a lot more like the Cyberpunk game, like Night City, but with none of the neon. There's no neon signs really.
No, it's very industrialized.
Like grunge Night City before they got like all the glow stick upgrades.
Well, even you just look at the cityscape shots, and it's like, oh, it looks like a computer chip or something. It just looks really artificial and industrialized and dirty and gross and grimy, and just sort of like the embodiment of what you think of when you think of horrible human expansion and like the destruction of nature.
What Toronto, it was filmed in Toronto, what Toronto will look like in 100 years from now.
Well, they call Toronto Mega City. It's been called Mega City since like the late 90s.
And the thing about it is too that like I found that for better or for worse, Judge Dredd looked like a movie, like a movie you see in like a major motion picture, and Dredd had a lot of. It was very digital, like had that digitalness to it, you know, shot on digital non-tape.
It's shot like a TV show more than it is like a movie. Yeah.
And I brought up that it kind of looked like a fan film in a lot of ways, and then
it is. Carl Urban is a fan.
Exactly, and then you pointed out that guy that makes fan films of like Power Rangers and shit is in the movie.
Pretty sure he has a cameo, yeah, which is fun, but also it is like it doesn't look great, yeah, but it doesn't look bad either. No. You know, when you say fan film, it's not like Batman versus the Predator or whatever. It looks like shit. Like, oh
no, I mean more like
Twilight.
Yeah. No, I mean more like the
fans of vampires.
The Deadpool test screening, or like that Venom short film that.
Yeah, and this is also something that is just of like between the years like 2008 and 2015, they were still trying to find their stride when it came to like lighting digital photography and have it not feel that way.
It actually felt a little bit like Repo, like the way it like looked.
Say a couple notches up,
a few notches up. Obviously, like definitely they weren't wearing Paris Hilton's fucking leftover clothes, and you know using digital.
They had more than 2 sets.
It was a good wardrobe, though. Yeah, like you can't say those costumes were not amazing.
It's true. Repo has a special place in my heart, as does Dredd. But the thing is,
some water.
There was a lot of.
How dare you?
There was a lot of digital like squibs. Like when people got shot, it looked really like CGI, but then there was a lot of cool practical stuff happening too, and all that slow-mo. The slow-mo was like, that was the
unreal
draw. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that I'm gonna do something different here. I'm gonna play a little song, and this
a little ditty
as it pertains to Dredd. And
as I went to the bathroom, I was like, the podcast comes in a little glass vial. The Home Alone of it all.
Did you say the podcast comes in a little glass vial?
A little glass vial?
A little glass vial. I would say the Home Alone of it all in Dredd isn't necessarily a section of the movie, but the draw of the movie is to come.
Well, that's when he gets arrested, I would say. Right,
but I would say the draw of this movie is the fact that the slow-mo guys are on the marquee, and you're coming to see what they can do. Like work their literal magic.
You're talking about Dredd, not
I'm talking about Dredd, yeah. Judge Dredd is when he goes, like when he takes his helmet off and goes to
I think Dredd is like as soon as those doors close on Peachtrees. That's when the Home Alone of it all starts.
And it becomes a literal video. That's another thing we didn't talk about yet. Sorry to be jumping around. If you guys have anything to add to the Home Alone.
Well, we are talking about 2 movies at the same time, so that's kind of crazy.
We're gonna be jumping all around.
Once again, Judge Dredd.
I think we can safely say both movies worth watching.
You're
not going to feel like you wasted your time if you watch either of them.
They're just very different, like very different vibes of the like same character, which is cool.
I mean, I'll talk. I mentioned this in my final thoughts, but I will say it now that like watching both of these as a double feature almost makes a perfect Judge Dredd movie. It's because you have all the ideas swirling around in your head while you're watching both.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not even like you couldn't mesh them together to make one movie because it just wouldn't make sense in terms of story. But seeing the character treated in 2 completely different ways, but also at its core, they don't feel completely different than one another. It's good. It's nice. It's just like 2 interpretations of the same thing.
Like
right?
2 different artists drawing a comic book. It's like
I feel like it's that, but it's also I think 2 different directors or 2 different storyboard kind of people seeing almost like the 2 sides of Judgment.
Mm-hmm.
Like how much that varies in itself of like what do we think Judgment is? Is it just saying I am right, I know what the rules are, therefore you follow the rules or you don't. If you don't, you're screwed, and if you do, fine, you live another day. Whereas the newer Dredd, there's a lot more gray area there. There's a lot of like actually trying to balance out the scales, which I don't know. there's a bunch of different interpretations of that. So
yeah, no, I fully agree with that. The thing that we brought up that it kind of blew my mind is you guys kept talking about Mass Effect, referencing Dredd. So you have like, and that sort of shows the difference in filmmaking from 95 to 2013. In 95, they wanted to make this big, over-the-top superhero movie with a gritty action, gritty action character from a comic book, and it doesn't really hit on all the cylinders. But in 2013, you want to take a character and update them, and they updated it to make it feel like you're following these characters around in a video game. And
you're part of the story, but you're behind the controller.
Right, yeah. Like, we're watching just the cutscenes. I could imagine Dredd as a video game a lot easier than I could Judge Dredd. I could imagine Judge Dredd, the major motion picture from the 90s, as like a Super Nintendo game, where it's like a side scroller and you're,
and then the robot shows up and it's like
bringing up the law.
I'm gonna jump on his head 3 times. Yeah, but I mean, tonally, like, they're completely. It's very clear when 9/11 happened, sort of thing, right? Where like, oh yeah, movies changed at some point, and they weren't, colorful, crazy, bombastic. Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Batman and Robin. That, like, this kind of feels like a Batman Forever, whereas Dredd feels more like
Batman
Christopher
Begins.
Nolan. Christopher Nolan presents Dredd. And not to say that one is better than the other. One is a little bit more fun in terms of visual fun, but Dredd is also a bucket of chuckles as well. It's just different, It's like, okay, I'm just seeing really gross, vile stuff, but it's presented in an entertaining way. The violence is absurd because of how crazy it is, and it makes you laugh and you feel good about it. Whereas the violence in Judge Dredd is cartoonish, it's goofy. They're both fun, and they're both valuable in their own right. I don't know if I prefer one over the other. I think that I would say that I have to be in a specific mood to enjoy one over the other. So there'll be days where I would be preferring to watch the campy 90s version of Judge Dredd over the dark, gritty 2012 Judge Dredd. And then you could flip that. Maybe there's another day where I'm like, I just want to watch some people get thrown off of balconies and turn into cantaloupes as they hit the ground. Throwing those people splat. Holy shit.
I believe you referenced, I called them wet carrots, but I think yours was more apt. An overcooked yam? Overcooked sweet potato?
Yeah, sweet potato hitting the pavement.
Because there's a couple moments, like, Dredd earns its R rating. And in my head as a kid, I thought Judge Dredd was as gory as Dredd is. Because there's people getting shot in the face and they're like their jawbone is exposed. There's people, like, they show them when you see people fall out of buildings in movies, you never see them like hit the ground. Really.
Actually hit the ground. Yeah.
The only movie I've really seen that in is like Midsummer. That movie's
so
fucked.
Good. Yeah. I love that movie.
Yeah.
It's because you're almost expecting a bounce, right?
Yeah.
But they just splat. Yeah.
Or when you do see them hit in old movies, it's usually onto a car, right? Because there's more effect. Yeah. But these people they get skinned or they get drugged and they just get thrown off buildings. So
they get both.
Yeah.
You get drugged, then you get skinned, then you get thrown off of.
Yeah, Mama is not a great character.
Nope.
No.
She's evil, but also you can tell that there's something bad happened to her, right? I think they go into it a little bit. I can't remember the exact details, but it almost feels like she just got like into a tussle with whoever was in charge before her. Like,
I think it was her lover, like her ex-lover, who was like in charge and was clearly very abusive.
Well, when we meet Mama, she's got the 3 guys we were just talking about who she whips off the building. I believe my interpretation of that was that she had just taken over. I think you guys were talking about how in the canon of this Dredd world, she's just taken over, and Judge Dredd and Cassandra have just wandered in to like get these guys that they were chasing, and then they realize that there's more afoot, in the peach tree.
Yeah, very much like, we keep bringing up the fact that Dredd feels like a video game, and it does feel like a side quest in the mission of the main quest of Dredd. It's like if Judge Dredd the movie is the main story, then Dredd is just like a side mission that you go to finish on your way to the main story.
That's pretty apt, because Judge Dredd feels more epic. It has more things in it.
That's because movies in the 90s really had to do that.
Yeah.
It was like, if you were to pull off a 2012 Dredd in the 90s, it would never be as successful. I mean, even Dredd of 2012 was not very successful as well. It was successful in my heart, but it was not successful financially.
From what I've read about Dredd, though, it's a kind of a cult classic now, though.
Oh, yeah.
It's sold a shit ton of DVDs, kind of a movie.
Yep.
It's the kind of movie where if you go to like a house party or something, and you go up to somebody and you're like, this guy seems cool, he's probably seen Dredd.
And then you say, what do you say to them? What do you say to them, Steve?
I said, hey, are you the law? And he goes, I am the law.
No,
and then you talk about Dredd.
And then you're best friends forever.
No, yeah. You gotta say, hey, did you see this one? That's the whole point of our show.
Dang.
Well, you need to be more clear.
As being as clear as I possibly could be.
I don't know what that says. I don't know how to read.
Also, just a short. This is a prototype of our new thumbnail system. So
yeah.
I was just gonna say, I keep seeing you whenever you shift this way or this way, and I'm like, oh, it's Double Steven.
Double Steve. That picture is old. That's like 8 years ago.
Well, you got a smooth face in it.
Same.
I used a young picture of myself.
I'm in Ireland in that photo. I'm on top of a castle. Yeah.
Are you wearing makeup?
Am I wearing makeup?
No,
in that photo.
In this photo.
It kind of looks like I am, but no, I'm not.
Your features are all very smooth.
I think it was just really good lighting. Yeah, it was that like magical early morning light. I can't remember where I was, but I am the law.
I am the law.
I will say before I forget, one of my favorite moments of this entire movie was Judge Dredd. Sorry, the original Judge Dredd being like, emotions. That ought to be against the law.
Yeah, there would be a law against them. Yeah.
Like, it's me.
Yeah.
The trouble my emotions have got me in jail immediately. Like, should be against the law.
Tim in the chat.
What does ABC Warrior stand for? I know we've mentioned the robot a few times, which...
just as a side here, Tim in the chat says Mama's Requiem. The slow-mo, when they're tripping out in slow-mo, is a good song to relax to, so...
Yeah, well, it is very intense and what's the word I'm looking for? I want to say magical, but I want to use a better word than magical.
Trippy.
It's trippy, man.
It's
She's flipping the water around, and it looks like diamonds are sparkling.
I would say it's a poignant.
It's like euphoric, almost. Like it's just like this, like pure bliss in a very violent world that you're surrounded by. You see beauty for the first time again.
I've been on mushrooms. The mushrooms that I was on this summer that I bought at a mushroom dispensary kind of did that to me a little bit.
Against the law.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not, lawful.
I am the law. That's what I say.
I am the law.
That's what I say before I eat a bag of mushrooms. I did mushrooms not too long ago, a few years ago, actually. Or I think it was not this past summer, but the summer previous. And a man died in the park while I was on mushrooms.
I remember, is that the time that you called us when we were over at Scott's place?
Yeah. It was
and you
Scott's
were like,
birthday.
The craziest thing happened to me. And we were like, is Steven okay?
It's like, I'm on mushrooms right now and I just saw someone die.
We couldn't tell if you were serious or not, but now I know.
All my friends were like, he didn't die, Steve. I'm like, they were performing heart palpitation or whatever, heart compressions for 20 minutes.
CPR.
That sounds
CPR.
like death.
And then they stopped and put him in a truck.
It wasn't CPR. It was just compressions. CPR is when you're like breathing in their mouths and stuff. But
maybe that's why he died. They didn't do.
They forgot to give him breaths. But like the reason that I know that he died is that they loaded him into the ambulance and then they drove away with the lights off. And my friends are like, no, they took him away in the ambulance. I'm like, they didn't put the siren on. They didn't put the lights on. That guy's fucking dead.
Yeah, there was no sense of urgency there.
Yeah.
No.
It's
that's sad.
Pretty dark.
Yeah, but they to this day they still won't admit. It's like, no, he didn't die. I'm like, he did.
Because they
That guy
can't
died.
they can't compartmentalize the fact that they witnessed that.
Yeah, maybe they just wanted me to shut up and stop talking about it because they were also on my.
Because everybody was on
like,
mushrooms.
this guy died.
And they were all
They were like, "You're
experiencing-
really ruining my trip,
Yeah,
bro."
Steve, shut up.
They were all experiencing CPR, slow mo is what I tried to say there, and they were seeing the little diamonds and the little.
Yeah, slow PR.
Stars.
Anyway,
Slow PR.
that was just a
Sorry.
little side story of the
Don't
time
you
that I
guys
was on
think the
mushrooms and
well-
witnessed death.
Don't you guys think Mega City looks like the well from Starfield? Just as a side note, Starfield is the game du jour right now, and me and Steve are playing.
For you guys,
Yeah, you don't know what we're talking about. It's okay.
I'm
you will.
playing a story in the dating simulator, Baldur's Gate 3,
Yeah.
and that is all I care about at this
Yeah.
moment. It takes up 95% of my brain power.
Well, I'm
at
glad
this
you
time
mentioned
currently.
that too. I like to just say, like, for the future, I like to put these little things in to be like, this is where we were and what we were playing.
The year was 2023.
But the funny part is while you guys were watching it, you guys have played a bunch more Baldur's Gate and are into D&D more than I am, and you guys kept being like, that was a saving throw, that was a failed perception check.
Me and
Insight
Cass
check.
speak almost primarily in dice rolling.
And I kept
It's
talking
true.
about Cyberpunk and Starfield. Oh, you guys were talking about Mass Effect as well as far as video games go. So I'm glad that mostly during Dredd.
We tried to provide you a couple of ins to our conversation, so you didn't feel like you were on the cusp.
Yeah, when people start
Roll a
talking
charisma
D&D,
check, and then
yeah,
we'll see.
like glaze over a bit.
Yeah.
Do you think that Judge Dredd would be good at Dungeons and Dragons?
He would definitely be
character?
he would be a lawful character, that's for sure. I don't know.
You would be a very, honestly, if you did like a D&D campaign or even like a Cyberpunk campaign, and you based your character off of Judge Dredd, 1995, Judge Dredd,
Kind of like
that
Hexus.
would be so fun to play.
Hexus
that
was
would
kind
be
of like was a little bit like Judge Dredd.
Yeah, but then you evolved to be Carl Urban Judge Dredd, and you grew
Maybe.
emotions.
He did. He
He
started
did.
off as a very emotionless, cold dick. then
Yeah.
he kind of turned into a warm, compassionate dick.
Yeah.
And for
He
the
was still a
viewers,
dick by the
that's your Cyberpunk character, right?
No,
No.
that's an old Dragon Blood campaign. It's like 2.5 years that we played that one.
Yeah, we played it for a long time, but
Every Wednesday.
my character was named Hexus, named after the poison cloud in the Fern Gully movie. And
Live action
he
coming in
Everyone's
2024.
first like
Yeah.
sexual awakening.
exactly. He was basically the character was just like this insanely hubristic, confident person who's like, I only have to attempt to do something 3 times and then I'll have mastered it. Like that was the kind of mentality that this guy had.
While you guys were perving
Very
out on Hexus,
egotistical.
I was in it for Gully, just the whole Gully, just the rainforest. Oh baby,
Is that the one that also Tim Curry plays that poisonous gas cloud? Is
Yeah,
that
it's called Hexus.
yeah,
that's
Hexus.
Texas?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Yep. I mean, Tim
He's like-
Curry can do anything.
I think Jim Carrey is going to be that character in the live action one, then, right? It's like Benedict
they doing a live
Cumberbatch.
action?
Yeah, next Christmas, like 2024.
Okay.
That's such a weird
Jim
thing. I'm
Carrey,
like, are
Benedict
there
Cumberbatch?
that many people who are like into Fern Gully?
Well,
I guess.
They were just into Tim Curry as Texas.
They're
Yeah.
gonna run out of movies because they're already.
Well,
at,
it's not a
like-
Disney movie.
It is a Disney movie.
No, it's not.
It
It's a
absolutely
blue.
is.
Fern
No.
Gully is not a
No.
Disney movie.
Well,
It's one of the other ones that wasn't.
It's a bloom or whatever.
then why did
It's
it
the
say-
guy who made
Blumhouse
like it's the
film.
guy who made like dinosaurs and AI After Earth and all those like weird.
Do you mean
other...
Land Before Time?
No.
No.
There's a movie called Dinosaurs, but Land Before
with
Time.
The
Yeah,
puppets.
yeah.
Got it.
I think Disney might be making the remake, but
I think they're making the live action one because it's
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah, that's you
If you're-
can't see that. Okay.
if you're referencing the new movie that's coming out, then I don't know if that's Disney, but I'm talking about the original movie.
Okay. I always thought it was a Disney movie. You're probably right. This one is Disney's Fern Gully, The Last Rainforest, and it's got Zendaya, Benedict Cumberbatch, Jim Carrey, Lucas Gage, and Emma Thompson.
That is a cast. Holy.
Alrighty
Bill
then.
Croyer. Yeah, it's not Disney. I can't. It's like a Fox movie, whatever their animation studio was.
Also, I
Back
wonder,
in the day.
is this real?
Another Alan Silvestri. That guy is everywhere. Tim Curry.
Oh, love him.
He's the best.
Also, I will say, this is a side note, I think this is also why I love Asterion as much as I do in Baldur's Gate, because I'm like, this is just Frankenfurter, but as a vampire, and you're perfect in every way.
Super sassy.
So sassy.
Okay. Yeah, so here's the thing. My bad. That was all fake and wrong. I saw this. I thought this poster was fake about a month ago, and then I saw it come up on social media, I think today. And then I was like, oh, now they're making it because of the virality of the hoax. But I'm wrong and stupid.
Are you still talking about the Ferngully, or
the live action?
Sorry.
I was just going to say, like, having Tim Curry
I'll just
come out of retirement.
When I edit these episodes.
Tim Curry? I don't know if he can walk anymore. Isn't he like in a wheelchair?
Tim Curry.
Tim Curry.
Different person. Tim Curry.
I think that, is Jim Carrey retired now? I think he said he's done acting.
Yeah, I think he said that a couple times.
He's going to be in all the Sonic the Hedgehog movies for the rest of time.
Yeah.
So weird. I haven't seen
Honestly, we should just leave Jim alone. I feel like this is like a...
It's
Chris Crocker, leave Brittany alone. Leave Jim alone. He's given us enough.
Before we get back to the movie, I will say that Sonic the Hedgehog 2 actually has like a part where Sonic the Hedgehog does like a level, and it's pretty great.
Apparently, the robot, the ABC Warrior, is from another comic book. Like it has its own comic book series of it's called ABC Warriors, and it's just a bunch of magnificent robots. So that's kind of interesting and cool. I didn't know that was like, I don't know if it's if it's like an offshoot or if it's a spin-off series. But
so remember last night how I was like,
it made a cameo in the Judge Dredd movie. So the ABC Warrior is from its own comic book, and they just like decided to toss him in there. Remember
how last night I was like, I wonder if like Judge Dredd, the reason why they jammed so many things in, if it's all a bunch of comic books. But I guess the original Judge Dredd, basically just Judge Dredd is from the comics, and they just made up a bunch of stuff for the movie, which is like not what they do now with superhero movies. I'll say that.
But that's what they did back then.
It's like the giant spider. They wanted the giant spider in Nick Cage Superman, and it's like, why? It's like, because I like giant spiders, and then that director put the giant spider in Wild Wild West, you know?
No, he wasn't. He was a producer. He was like obsessed with getting this giant spider in movies since like the early 90s. And I can't remember the guy's name, but Kevin Smith has like a long tale about it. If you ever are interested, just go.
Evening with Kevin Smith.
Just go listen to him. He tells the story better than I will.
And that guy is in that Licorice Pizza movie. He's a character in it.
I don't know what you're referring to.
That producer is a character in the movie Licorice Pizza.
Oh no, I got lost to the Licorice Pizza part.
Yeah, I don't know.
That Licorice Pizza is a movie. It's a movie that came out a couple years ago. It's
like good. He's literally a character, or a character is inspired
by him.
Oh, it's a bunch of teenagers.
It's got one of the Haim sisters in it. It's yeah. Who's the director? Okay. It's of note. It's a Paul Thomas Anderson movie. Yeah.
I see.
Sorry, I had to explain that.
Yeah. Not everybody knows what Licorice Pizza is.
Listen, I'm going to not say stuff gross. For a little while to come back from my embarrassing Ferngully moment.
Okay.
Of which I will never
You're horribly embarrassed by the fact that you thought it was a Disney movie?
I thought it was real.
And also real.
More so.
Oh, the live action movie is not real.
No.
I just explained that it's not real.
Okay, good. I mean,
Steven has a headache. Leave him alone.
This makes so much more sense to me because I was like, who the fuck wants a live action Ferngully movie?
I do.
Okay, you didn't even know what movie company made it. You clearly don't like it that much.
Well, the poster had a big Disney on it. That's why I thought.
That's because whoever made that fake poster didn't do 5 seconds of research to figure out what company.
And then I did even less research, okay? Let's move on.
That's
So
funny.
wait, can we talk about this robot more? Because I
Yes,
loved
the
him.
robot rules.
I loved him from the moment he was on screen, and I just wish he had more.
Whoever designed
I
that
wanted the
thing
best for him.
deserves all the praise in the world because it looks like a cartoon drawing brought to life in the best
Yeah.
possible way. It's like you'd think, if they were to remake Judge Dredd with this robot in it, it would look like some sort of shitty one of those like Virginia Tech, Boston Tech robots with four legs.
Yeah,
that
they do the
the walk around or
movie
whatever
version of it.
Yeah, and it would have a big machine gun on its back, and it would have been boring. But they made it like a big, goofy, kind of cute a little bit at times when its eyes
He
are
was like a mini Iron Giant, like
yeah.
just
Yeah.
like a little tiny little buddy.
And
And by mini, you mean it's like fucking 13
Not
feet
like
tall.
taller than a cedar tree.
Yeah.
Like
it had a
mini
cool
as in
jaw
taller than a human
mechanism,
Yeah.
like the jaw would move back
Yeah.
and forth. That was really interesting.
It
I love
reminded
puppetry
me.
and animatronics. It's very cool.
It reminded me. I brought it up last night briefly that it reminded me of like the Goro puppet from the Mortal Kombat movie around the same time as this, and it makes me feel good that some movie studios are bringing back the old magic of practical effects in that sense, because like a puppet is so good. I know it's clunky and weird and a little campy
But
at
it's
times,
not.
but it
Like,
looks so good.
Puppetry is one of I've done a bit of puppetry in my life, and it is so cool to see something that is not real and just an inanimate object come to life just by small movements or making sure like eye lines are kind of connecting to things. It is a really cool, it's magic. It is magical art. Like that full illusion. I love it. It makes me very happy.
I think often about like the Guillermo del Toro Hellboy movies and how much puppetry they had going on in those, and then you
Pan's
look at
Labyrinth.
and then you look at like the new Hellboy movie that came out not too long ago, and how they just basically sort of abandoned most of the puppetry, and a lot of it was just CGI, right?
I was going to ask Steve. I imagine you watched the new ones. You seem like you'd be a fan of those. I was going to ask.
I like Hellboy a lot.
Maybe you can add to this as well, Cass. I've only seen like the original Hellboy, which was very much like a major motion picture adaptation of the Hellboy dark, gritty comics. And they felt kind of like big and kind of wacky, even though they were Del Toro films.
Well, because the guy who drew the comic book, his name is Mike Mignola, and his art style is very unique. It's heavy lines and cartoonish proportions.
Yeah. It's like the Hercules movie a little bit.
One
Disney's
of my faves.
Hercules.
Oh,
a little bit, yeah.
Better.
It's even more angular than that, though. I think if you were to think of like the Mr. Freeze outfit.
Well, just let me finish my question because you might be able to answer.
Sorry.
You might be able to answer it here. The new movies.
Yeah.
With David Arbor.
There's only one.
There's only one. I thought there were two. Whatever. Did they do this? Is it different the way that the two Judge Dredd? I was thinking about this while watching the two Judge Dredd movies last night. Is it Are they different in that way, where the Guillermo del Toro movies are like more campy and bigger, and then the new ones try to like streamline it and make it like grittier and more like the source material?
It's almost like one is playing well composed rock music, like something like Queen, and then the other one is trying to play improvisational heavy metal or something, like
which is which? The new one's improvisational heavy metal?
Yeah, it's like that was like how I would break it down in terms of music, but like I didn't hate the new one, I just didn't like it. Like there's a big chunk of the Hellboy movies that comes directly from Guillermo del Toro's interesting art direction,
right?
His cinematography style, even just the choices in lighting and color temperature and literal color on film. He uses colors that are traditionally not used very often, like yellows and reds and stuff like that, which are hard to light and hard to film and capture nicely. And it's the other chunk of it is Ron Perlman being Hellboy. Like
Mm-hmm.
Ron Perlman did such a good job of being Hellboy that it was like an impossible task for anybody to take up that mantle. And Ron Perlman was like, I ain't putting that shit on my face anymore. Like, I'm too old for this. For 7 hours of the makeup chair.
And Doug Jones. Doug Jones is the fish man.
I don't even remember if the Fishman Abe Sapien is in the new movies. Like I can't even remember if he's in it as a character.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Doug Jones didn't actually get to play him in the first movie. He played him physically, but the voice was David Hyde Pierce because the studio wouldn't let Doug Jones do it, even though Guillermo del Toro was like, I want Doug Jones to be the voice.
Because Doug Jones is great. He's in What We Do in the Shadows as the Baron, and he's he's fantastic.
I think they just wanted a bigger name to attach to that character, because Ron Perlman is a big name, but he's not that big of a name, so they wanted a recognizable voice.
David Hyde
play
Pierce,
the
who would have been
character.
fresh off Frasier at the time, back in like 2004.
And then in the second movie, Guillermo del Toro had a little bit more swing and value, so he was like, "No, we don't need to bring David Hyde Pierce back. Doug Jones is and was supposed to be him all along." And it's jarring at first. I remember seeing the Golden Army and being like, "Why the fuck did they get rid of David Hyde Pierce and who is this new voice actor?" And then I realized later, like years later, almost when I started to really get into film, that it was like, oh no, they just gave the guy in the suit the opportunity to actually act, which is like way better than hiding him. He's already behind 7 hours worth of Fishman makeup, and they're also stealing his voice. That doesn't seem fair. Anyway, I don't know if I answered your question, but I attempted to.
You did.
They are different. They feel different tonally. They visually feel very different. And though the attitude of Hellboy is similar, they're not the same. And there's something less comedic about the new one that's missing.
Yeah, that was kind of my question. Like the campiness of a Guillermo del Toro like action comedy versus the like reboot, where it seemed like Hellboy was a lot more like he wasn't as funny as Hellboy in the other.
Yeah, and like the Hellboy movies have this grain of levity that exists in dire and spooky consequences, where everything is like frightening looking, heavy, the world is ending, some stuff that's really gross looking. It's always, world ending stakes that are very serious, with these sort of comedic characters doing goofy stuff throughout their adventure, which works so well when Guillermo del Toro is on the job and when Ron Perlman is there to helm the ship and have his giant chin on screen.
And that's kind of like what Judge Dredd has a lot more, like the world ending element of it. They're trying to take over the world.
Yeah.
And then Dredd is just, like you said, like a side quest. Like Dredd's just out on a day's work.
If Mama succeeds, what happens? She takes over one building.
But
I mean,
block.
at the same time, those buildings are essentially cities. Like she's taking over a city, which is pretty big, but it's not a mega city. Yeah. So I don't know.
Eat recycled food.
Yeah, when that robot shows up at the very beginning saying, eat recycled food, I'm like, isn't that just shit? Are you telling me to eat shit, robot?
Human Centipede 4.
Yeah, exactly. With its spinning Coors logo.
Yeah.
I was like, does that thing sell beer? It must, right? It's like a little food robot. Because later when they find...
sold noodles.
They find Schneider inside of it. And he's covered in noodles. I'm like, so it's like a food dispensing robot. It dispenses recycled food, which I still don't know what that means. Somebody explain to me what recycled food is.
Maybe they mean like people's leftovers that they like throw out at the end of a meal. They're like, I'm too full.
Like when
I'm too rich recycled. And have too much food. And
like that rumor about buffets where when people don't finish their plates, they just
put it right back on.
Yeah, back into the dish.
That's a rumor? I've never heard that before.
That's like one of those urban myths. I don't know if they do it for sure, but I definitely ate a piece of pizza one time that was soaked in beer. So like, as a kid, this happened. It was fucking gnarly.
I don't want to hear any more about this.
Where was this? I need to know.
It wasn't in Toronto. Don't worry. I need to know. It was at a shitty.
Was it like a Chuck E. Cheese or something?
No, it was at a really shitty buffet in Bears Lake. Halifax, Nova Scotia. Like,
you're very far away from where this occurred.
yes, you're 2,000 kilometers away from where this happened. I don't think that you would experience something so disgusting like a mandarin.
Fair, but like, was it like a special of pizza? Were they like, the beer pizza?
No,
It's our new special of the day.
We marinate our pizza in beer.
I took it. I was
someone like dipping it into a keg. And being
I was
like,
probably like 12, and I
pouring
definitely
it
knew
over
what beer tasted like, and I took a bite of this pizza. And
I don't want to hear
sorry.
any more about
as
this.
I was saying it, I realized Steve doesn't want to hear about it.
I have a very sensitive gag reflex, and I already almost gagged when you told me that you ate a piece of pizza soaked in beer at a buffet because it was put back. Oh,
Oops.
God.
Oopsie.
Yeah.
Anyway,
my friend just had a baby today, and they're like talking about all of it, and I was like, oh. And then my sister's like, you want to see a picture of my wisdom tooth hole? And I was like, no, I don't want to see that. And now you're talking about this. This whole day has been disgusting.
Sorry about
But you got through Dredd just fine.
Yeah.
So
a compare and contrast.
My brain knows it's fake.
I'd like to do between these two movies is just how Dredd does things. At the beginning of Judge Dredd, he like fights his way up. He's like on the other side of the door with the criminals that have, you know, Rob Schneider's on the other side. They've killed some guys.
Criminals.
Judge Dredd's about to go in there and you know, bust some skulls, and we just don't hear from Judge Dredd for a minute, and then we see like the ceiling, a circle in the ceiling of bullets, and he comes down through and starts dishing out judgment.
Well, the real underworld.
And then exactly. And in Dredd, he's very like systematic about things, and he's got a clairvoyant with him.
He's like a robot, and it's like he's like RoboCop almost. And it's the reason I think we brought up Mass Effect, both of us, is because his outfit in Dredd, in his helmet, look very reminiscent of armor that exists in Mass Effect, and even his gun looks like the heavy pistol from Mass Effect,
which was my bae. I love the heavy pistol very much.
Me too. But even just the way he is, so like you said, systematic and robotic, it's like a video game character where they have a bunch of bullets going around them, but they're still maintaining like perfect posture to fire on their enemies.
Also, it still makes sense because like he's trained, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like watching like Keanu in The Matrix, but like less stylized, of just like, I just know where I'm going, and this is my mark, and this is what I do because I'm trained to do that. That's my job.
And it rules. It's cool.
They talk about the isolation of being a judge a little bit in Judge Dredd, but in Dredd they don't really touch on it as much. But you do get the sense that like you're seeing it in action a lot more with the Carl Urban Dredd. Like he clearly is just trained to be this like emotionless killer who deals justice. But even though Stallone's version of it, even though Stallone's version of it is a lot more like he's talking about it all the time, his Sylvester Stallone is just a lot more charismatic and a lot more emotional seeming, even though he's talking about you're supposed to have no emotions. And the second he learns a lesson at the end, he's like, I smile now. So let's go on an adventure.
Give me my gun again. Let's go.
Yeah. Who's got my shoulder pads?
Good.
Anyway, so I don't have like a ton left to discuss about this movie, and we're talking about two movies.
I think that's might be kind of, it's good that we watched both, because
I mean, I definitely would like to see more in the universe of Judge Dredd, because I think it's an interesting space to play around in, and
very cool.
As much as they went to the like balls to the wall with the 95 movie in terms of like, let's try and cram as much of this weird world into one movie as we can, instead of, parsing things out over the course of maybe 2 or 3 movies. They're like, we're throwing robots, cannibals, clones, everything. And then Dredd, it's like, even Dredd, they're still kind of doing that. They're like, we're showing you the city. We're showing that the violence is rampant and crazy. We're showing you that there's crazy drugs that make you go into slow motion. We're showing you that there's weird psychics that can like read people's minds. And it just makes you think, okay, so there's probably also robots and clones and cannibals in the Carl Urban world as well, right? And I would like
sure.
to see, I'd like to
Robots
see an
and
urban
clones and
adventure.
cannibals, oh my.
So
like to see an
basically
urban
what you're saying
adventure.
is if they have like a Kickstarter for this TV show of Carl Urban doing Dredd,
Yeah,
you're like,
doing this.
Then, yeah?
I mean,
I'd be down. I would love to see more of it. I feel like the newer movie was like it was a glimpse into the world. It was like, oh, here's like a little pinpoint.
I think that's what it was meant to be, and they were hoping that they were creating
it's like
another
pilot, like a full pilot that they could backdoor a pilot out of.
But I mean, like, that's not to say that it's bad, because it's great.
No.
Like, it's so good. They went out to make a cool, fun movie, and they did. I just wish that more people went to go see it, because
it's very good.
Probably have 3 or 4 of them by now.
So we had mentioned last night that like it might be a problem to make a movie like this because any propaganda stuff that gets made is obviously
it's hard.
It's hard to do. It's not great. Even like a beloved show like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, when you watch it, like when you go back and kind of look at it with that lens now, you're like, oh, this was the play when the show started, but it's not. We don't want a sitcom about police now.
Which is what they had. They had a really hard time with that in the later seasons, right? Of being like, I don't even think we can do the show anymore because after
not
like funny. It's not funny.
When it came back to end after Black Lives fucking matter and all this stuff in New York and COVID and everything, it's
you
like
just say
what?
I don't know. You said that very aggressively.
They do. I mean, they do.
Yeah,
it's
of course.
I'm saying it's hard to show police in like a good light.
No, you can't.
Even you can't. It's not like
broken. It's so broken.
Yeah, I don't know if this is the venue for us to discuss this because it's a little bit too heavy.
You're right. This is a fun podcast, but as far as
it is a fun podcast, but I think it is like it reflects in both of these movies how different the world's opinion and I think also learning more about what's around us has changed.
Yeah, I think it's the fact
it's not
that
this shining gold medal like I am the savior of everything and I am
the law.
We get like we can't see it in this time like that anymore.
I think I'm also kind of like that. I'm a little triggered on it right now because of the stuff that's happened this week. I'm kind of like, I don't even want to talk about this because it's making me feel like hot and like, ugh, I hate this so much.
I'm with you on that. It's not getting better, and that's the thing too. With the show though, they could take this opportunity to either amalgamate both of the movies and show that the judge system is kind of ridiculous because they're police and show how ridiculous it all is, or what they do is just go to the comic, the source, and just do straight up stories from the comics.
Yeah, and I mean
also tough because I haven't read the comics, so I don't know kind of how much we're actually dealing with in the movie versions. Obviously, like there's influence for sure.
There's a comic.
I can't tell what levels are in the comic books themselves.
I was looking through some when I was trying to figure out like how much of the first Judge Dredd movie like covers the comics because of the showing so many different ideas. I found a cover from one of the Judge Dredd comics that's Judge Dredd versus the Fatties, and then it has 2 horrible pictures of giant fat people, like
Jack Black's character from the fake movie in Tropic Thunder,
or just like Shallow Hal. So I feel like it might have a lot of that 80s comic book inappropriateness to it.
I think the original is like satirical. It's meant to be just like goofy stuff.
It reminded me a lot of whenever I would see it in the comic book shop. It kind of feels like a story you would read in like heavy metal.
Yeah.
It is difficult, like we've been saying, because everything that we would consider good now is being hypercritical of police order, and which is good because as a society now we're at least attempting to hold people accountable for shitty actions, but it's hard to try and tell a story with a character like Judge Dredd now, and it's probably going to take even longer from what's been happening in the last like 3-4 years to be able to tell another Judge Dredd story without it immediately being put under some sort of microscope and compared to what the actual climate of today is.
I think either way, a gun-toting police officer who like dishes out hard justice, it won't
on
play.
The fly.
Yeah. because
and
it's
that's
a
the
little
thing.
too
Like,
real.
I think in the original kind of context, from what I understand of Judge Dredd in itself, it is a little bit camp. Like, it's obviously like, gritty, violent, whatever, but there is kind of a bit of a silliness to it.
Yeah.
And I think, again, like, if you were to do a television show right now with Dredd, there is no funny in that.
Judge Dredd would have to be
seen as like, what comment are you making right now?
It would
And
also,
I hope
yeah,
it's the right one.
Well, I mean, if you even just
You
look
don't
at
get
Judge
the
Dredd,
camp.
just look at Judge Dredd for 5 seconds.
Yeah.
He
He's
is
camp.
ridiculous. Like, he has giant golden shoulder pads, one of which
love
is an
it.
eagle.
Yeah.
Like, it's
they live in they do their judging out of an eagle-shaped building in both
It's ridiculous.
iterations. Well,
But I
the
love
urban
that
one
aspect
just
of
has like
it.
a
Yeah, but
laser hawk
still.
on the front.
it would have
It's-
to be like The Boys. Like, it would have to be.
Well, that's
like
what I was trying to
super
get out. I was gonna say
tongue-in-cheek.
Sorry.
Judge Dredd would have to be a really stupid character like Peacemaker or something,
Yeah.
right? Where it's like, oh yeah, he's dishing out justice and law, but it's like absolutely ridiculous, and the character is a joke. Like, you look at them and you're like, this guy is just a piece of shit
But
idiot.
from the mind of
Yep.
Seth Rogen and Adam McKay.
Yeah.
Or Evan.
The only way to
Goldberg.
play it right now.
Or
Yeah.
Adam McKay could do a good Judge Dredd, I think. Adam McKay does good.
What about Danny McBride?
From the mind of Danny McBride, like he writes
as Judge
Oh,
Dredd.
yeah, that's the Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen.
I feel like he could do like the mean behind the mask. He could do it.
I think he's just eating Slim Jims and riding a jet ski. Tim in
That'd
the
be
chat says lots of Cold War stuff in the comic, so you could update that. I
That
think
makes sense.
you could set this in like a Iraq War era, like early 2000s. So,
Yeah.
and then have that be the hysteria, and then have Judge Dredd.
I mean,
being
I think that-
hilarious. A time capsule Judge Dredd would be cool. I think.
I think we would still need to wait longer, I think, for it to have that kind of impact.
I just
Or
fear
at least an impact that could be palatable and not weirdly like triggering, if
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, I think. I mean, unfortunately, I think we're talking in circles here because we're just kind of saying the same thing over and over, which is
Reach into the
Judge Dredd
fire.
not going to work for a little while.
No.
We got to figure out the world before we can make another Judge Dredd.
But
If
I
anything,
hope we do, because I would love some new Dredd.
yeah, because he's a fun character.
fun.
He's I don't even want to call him interesting. He's just fun, and like there's nothing interesting about Judge Dredd. And to be honest, I don't really want to delve into like the rich tapestry that is Judge Dredd's like home life. Like I'm more into him just going around and blowing things up.
I'm doing my job.
Yeah,
I
I'm
was-
the
I
law.
am the law.
I
That's
was
it.
curious about like in neither of the movies Judge Dredd like goes home, right? So like, what does this dude
don't think he
fucking
sleeps.
house looks like?
Yeah, he sleeps in the locker room at the Hall of Justice or
Like,
whatever.
is
In
he
the
a-
locker, like full vampire mode. Like,
Yeah,
Is
he
he
sleeps inside his locker. Yeah.
Is he a super soldier? Because we kind of glossed over that in the first movie. It's implied that
seems
like
like it.
he's the best, and he may have been genetically.
I mean, he's got
created?
the weird eyes, right? Like it's almost like the only reason that he has those eyes is to also have the eyes on the villain, Rico,
Yeah,
so that you can like make the connection. But it's like they don't need to have the same eyes, and I think that the reason they did that is to infer that Judge Dredd himself is also a clone, because like all the
That's
clones
what
have
I
those
kinda
eyes
thought.
as
They
well,
all have
right?
those eyes too, yeah.
So there's something going on where they were created. I think Max von Sydow like does explain it at some point, but I went to go pee and came back and I was like, did I miss all of the exposition to this
Yeah,
movie? Because
you
I have
did.
no idea
did.
what's going on now.
Yeah, me
I was
and
gone for like
Cass
45 seconds.
tried to explain that element to you for the rest of the movie, and you
The rest of the
missed,
movie, I was like, what? Wait, what?
they're clones. There's clones in
Yeah.
this thing.
When did clones happen? He's like, oh, while you were peeing. I was like, what the fuck? The clones are in the Statue of Liberty? Wait, what?
And the thing
Someone
is,
needs
is
to break this down for me.
the movie didn't stick with any of us enough for. I did a little bit of research, but I was sure you were gonna like rewatch the movie today. But like the movie isn't even like really
No, I had
worth
to work
rewatching the
on
next
stuff,
day,
I
and
couldn't.
you know, like it's not even one of those movies where you're like, oh man, I gotta go back and see. It left my brain.
I
Yeah.
mean, I was thinking about. I had to take a nap after I was doing work today because I was obliterated. But I was thinking about watching it again, and I was like, I don't think I need to. And then we sat down, and I was like, I definitely should have watched it again because I remember nothing, and I took
Did
no
you
notes.
hear my synopsis? That was just like, I think this
And then this
happens,
happens, I think. And
You made it 65% of the way through before we had to jump in to sort of help
Thank
you
God, I was
along.
floundering for something. I was like, I think I know what's happening.
also, there's too many little things that happen
Yeah.
in this movie where it's like, what happens is he gets framed for murder, sent to jail, and then he comes back to kill the guy who framed him for murder.
I
Who
definitely-
Oh,
also is
you
his
should
brother.
have done the synopsis.
I mean, I usually do.
Well, I
Um,
like I'm trying to give the guests the honors of things. I want the guests to be like,
I know, but
you know.
I love that. I only
There's-
notice details. So if you
Yeah.
ask me about something, I will be like, and this detail, and then this detail.
But like watching the movie last night, we all had grand plans to like write out things for it, and we all just were like, let's just see what happens
Never mind.
on the pod and just talk about it. We covered all our bases. I'm gonna I'll be back in 1 sec. You guys, maybe we take her home pretty soon here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have a ton to say, even though we're talking about two movies. I think that, ultimately this movie should be praised for its crazy art design. Like,
For sure.
it's so good, even though we've said it over and over again that it's like campy and cartoony. That doesn't mean it's bad. It's freaking awesome. It reminds me of like Small Soldiers, like, and a lot of like the overblown stuff from the 90s is very much alive and well throughout this movie. The costume design, I think right away we were like, oh, even the side characters have cool costumes, and it just kept getting weirder and weirder. And like, the guards at the prison have guns that look like they should be strapped on the side of a Jeep or like a fucking tank or something. Like, these men and women are carrying around giant machine guns that don't look like human hands should be able to carry them. They look so heavy.
I love that though. And I feel like maybe when I say it, it seems like it's a negative kind of thing. When I say camp, some people would be like, oh, so it's like, it's dumb, or like I shouldn't watch it. I mean that in the most genuine, loving way that I could ever say it. When I say camp and I say like, oh, it's weirdly like nostalgic or like over the top or whatever, it's amazing, and it should be that. I think it's
I guess
perfect.
camp is a bad word to some people, but I think that camp to
I
me
love
is like,
camp.
oh, no, I like that.
No, camp is important.
We did
things.
Rocky Horror a couple weeks ago, and I was like,
That's
the entire
camp.
movie is camp, and it's one of the best movies ever made.
Yeah, you
the
need
whole
that
month-
whimsical silliness to just kind of like
Yeah.
That whole
forget
month was
about the
camp.
world for a second.
But like, you look at the art design, the costume design in this movie, and it's like they're like Warhammer figures, like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
Like, nothing makes sense, but visually it's just like, I like this. I don't care that it looks stupid. Like, it looks stupid, but in the best possible way. And like, I think about my cynical self as like a teenager when the gritty versions of everything were coming out, and I was like, fuck yeah, this is a good version of it shit. And now I'm like,
In
I was so
retrospect, you're
stupid.
like,
Yeah, I'm like, no, his costume looks goofy in this movie, but it's so good. Like, this is the kind of stuff now that I'm like, I want to draw characters that look like this. I don't want to draw like super realistic, gritty, boring stuff, because I think it's boring now, right? This is just like painting in black and white versus painting in watercolors with the most vibrant colors you can mess around
That's why
with.
I kind of appreciate that, Marvel movies have like a look to them now, and they don't really deviate from the mean. But when you watch DC fucking goes all over the spectrum, like they do with their like animated movies. They have like a Shazam for the kids. It's not great, Shazams are better, but then you have like a Wonder Woman, which feels like a Marvel movie. But then you have like Aquaman, and it's just like a colorful, like weird thing. And then you have like the Batmans that like they made, or sorry, the Batman, which is like the grittiest thing you've ever seen. And then you have like Batman versus Superman, which is like they made Superman gritty for some reason, but it's entertaining. And then like the Justice League, there's two different versions of the Justice League,
Yeah, we all know that DC is suffering from dissociative identity disorder.
Yes.
Okay, you don't need to keep pointing it out.
They have object impermanence, and it shows.
But I don't know, I like that. I'd rather see something different, and like maybe it fails or it does badly, but I'd rather you take a chance and completely shift than do the same thing over and over again and just like cash money it the whole way. And then it becomes boring. And I'm like, oh, but I love that at the beginning. and now it sucks.
That's
I think
kind of how
also
I feel
it's
about Marvel. It's like, okay, it's oversaturated. It's the same thing. I'm seeing the same shit over and
give
over
me
again.
something new.
And even when they
I
try
don't
and give
wanna
me
see the
something new, I'm
pattern.
like, it's the same. Get it away. I don't like
Yeah,
it.
which is really sad. I think
I
it's
was
also like,
disappointed in the fact that like I saw the new Guardians and I was like, you know what? I think I'm legitimately burnt out on these movies. I can't connect to them emotionally anymore. And like I was expecting to be in tears or whatever throughout, and I was just like, it's not there anymore. My cold heart has been doused in like ice. Like, I
That's
just
fair,
can't
man. But honestly, like
can't do it anymore.
that's my cereal. You know, that's the cereal that I want to see every little bit of, and I eat it all up. You know,
I love that.
I mean, I still watch them.
I'm
just
burnt
like,
out on.
I just don't care to watch them immediately anymore, and I have absolutely no concern about spoilers. And I just don't like. I'm like, yeah, spoil me. I don't give a shit.
I don't care about spoilers for like.
Let me
DC
guess, and then
movies. I'm kind of
No, I
burnt
know,
out
but
Say
on
the
that.
entire plot.
But I swear this has happened before. Where I'm like, let me guess, and then I ask Jason what I think is going to happen in the movie, and Jason's like, that's pretty much exactly what happens in the movie.
You're just like, I know the
Yeah.
pattern. I know the formula now. I know exactly.
I think it was Ant-Man, Quantumania. You
And
did
Ant-Man is
that.
bananas, and I still was like, and then a bunch of ants probably show up at the end, right? It's like, yeah,
You're like,
fuck,
dang
they
it.
do, yeah.
But the thing is like, it's just a. I grew up wanting to see all these things, and now I'm getting it, and I'm not experiencing. I get why people are experiencing that burnout and that fatigue. I'm just not specifically for Marvel. I haven't seen all the DC movies. Like I haven't seen the second Shazam. I fucking wish I hadn't seen Black Adam, you know, or Wonder Woman.
I've
84.
seen Black Adam, but I haven't seen Black Adam.
Exactly.
I don't remember a second of
I
that
zoned
movie.
out so hard. There's there's movies that you're like supposed to see in theaters to like get anything out of, and Black Adam is one of
That
them.
sounds like they don't believe in their movie and they want you to go make some money.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway.
Go see it. I think also I noticed this today. This is a bit of a side story, but I swear it ties back. I was at Marshall's today with some of my coworkers on lunch, and we were looking at some like little fashion moments, and like 70s, 80s vibe is coming back. And we were looking at these clothes and we were like, wow, it's really cool how fashion kind of cycles through, where like you can keep something from like the 1990s, and if it still fits you by this time, it's still in fashion and it came back. And I feel like it's very similar in multiple facets of media and art and everything. You have the old school camp that was beloved. Everything got gritty, and that was beloved. And now everybody's bored of that, and they go right back to the originals. And they're like, wow, I didn't really appreciate this as much as I should have. It's just, you have to kind of let the things die a bit to create new life, to then go back through the cycle.
Exactly why I brought up Hellboy with Steve, because the time between Dreads is much longer than the time between Hellboys. And I wanted to know if it still felt like it was in the same sort of world, or if it was a vast difference. And Steve, you kind of said it was kind of not as big a difference between the two, but still a big enough difference that you would notice it.
Well, like the Guillermo movies,
yeah,
they have a particular feel
because it's him.
Well, yeah, and they have a particular feel. He has a way of shooting that makes everything feel like it's out of a storybook. And then the newer Hellboy, it felt like it was more set in the real world, which I don't want to see that. I want to see storybook version. Like the art style for Hellboy particularly is so it doesn't make sense in terms of reality, right? Like his proportions make no sense. The characters all look funky and crazy and weird. And then it's like you translate that to live action, and somehow he did it. And then in the new movie, they're trying to do it again, but it's just not succeeding in the same way. And it's the reason that it didn't do as well is, I think, because it wasn't a great movie. It wasn't terrible, like I said, but just didn't have that, like, when I saw the second Hellboy movie, I left and I was like, I can't wait for the third one. And then it just never got made. And I was like, no. And now it's been too long and no one wants to make it anymore. And I'm like, that's not great. Anyway, yeah, they don't feel like they exist in the same world is what I'm saying. They feel like there are two interpretations of, it's like Keaton Batman versus Nolan Batman.
Yeah, okay. The finales of these two movies are like, have vastly different messages too, you know, like the fist fight on top of a fucking, in a clone lab in a Statue of Liberty versus like having Mama have her comeuppance by doing to her what she does to so many people is like sending
Is
a
that
message.
justice?
You know, is that justice or is it revenge? Those are very
And what
different.
is the difference?
Yeah.
What is the difference, really?
No.
When you think about the justice system as what we have it as, what is the difference?
I mean, at
Well,
least...
he's Judge Judy and executioner, so it's up to him to make that choice.
And we trust Judge Judy in all of her judgments.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Judge Judy is the next Judge Dredd.
That's how they do it.
We
We cracked the code. Judge Judy has to play Judge Dredd, and she has to wear all the armor.
So good.
She just calls people an idiot like a whole bunch. And
shut up.
She goes in her room with a guy. Shut up.
I am talking.
Yeah.
So good.
Oh my God.
Oh, we love Judy.
Well, you know, we didn't squeeze these ones as hard as I thought we would because there wasn't a lot of juice in them.
I know. Usually we talk for 3 hours. What's happening?
We did 3 hours.
I didn't have
on
time
Repo
to do
Man, or Repo Man.
Well,
Repo.
That's because Cass knows everything to do with that. I didn't do a deep dive into the making of either of these movies. I'm sure there's plenty to talk about, but I didn't have time to do a lot of research today, so I apologize.
But also, both of you have seen Dredd several times and don't have a whole lot of...
Well, again, like, I don't know a ton about the making of Dredd either. I like the movie and I've seen it multiple times, but I haven't done like a, you know, like if we were talking about Guillermo del Toro, I could talk all goddamn day, but I don't even know who directed Dredd. Peter Travis.
Let's look at Peter Travis's fucking track record right quick because I want to know what his vibe is.
He hasn't made a ton. He's directed 19 things. A lot of it is TV. So
that's why he's...
This is actually the only movie I think that he's made. Yeah, everything else is TV.
And then who's the director of who directed
Judge he made Endgame as well, which I've never seen.
Oh, not Marvel's Endgame.
Not the Avengers.
Yeah, he directed Endgame, you know. He's the one who said I can't even think of a single line from Endgame. I was going to try and pull a nice quote, and I can't remember anything.
Oh, here's something interesting. Danny Cannon is the
Danny Cannon. Ding, 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 ding,
my favorite of all time.
Yeah.
He's the executive producer of Gotham, and he's the executive producer of the failed Gotham Knights TV show.
Oh, wow. 2 horrible, horrible things.
Hey, Gotham was
Love
fine.
That.
But that's like
I'm a girl. I'm a girl.
That's my impression of every female villain from Gotham.
I'm a girl, and I'm taking over the city now because I'm a girl.
And you're like, ugh. Can we get some female writers in the writing room here?
Oh, wouldn't that be lovely?
Yeah. Because I don't think that the people who are writing these women know how women act.
No.
Because they don't act like this. That was the most disappointing aspect of that show to me, which I have seen every episode, by the way, is that anytime a female character got slightly interesting, she either died or went crazy and became a psychopathic
or
murderer.
aged up to be sexy with a child's brain.
Let's not talk about that ever again and pretend that it never happened.
He directed I Still Know He Did Last Summer.
Oh.
You should start saying things that are good.
Hey,
did he do anything that's good? Or?
He directed episodes of the more modern Nikita TV series.
Oh, of CSI Miami? Wow.
He directed one episode of Shameless. He directed an episode of the Training Day TV show. Yeah.
So the trend for Danny Cannon and Peter Travis,
both TV directors.
They both just did a lot of TV.
Yeah, but you know, at least Danny
makes
Cannon
complete sense when we were thinking about why it looked like a TV show.
I Still Know You Did Last Summer. Okay. Well, do you guys want to take this home? Because this is fucking... I don't know how we did 2 movies for the first time ever, and
it was shorter than anything else.
Well, listen, we're in a new era now. We only have 2 primary hosts and a guest, so the episodes are going to skew on the shorter side from now on. But
unless you get me on an episode where I'm just like, this is my bread and butter, and I have
talk
studied
forever
this for
about
years.
Yeah.
And I have my fun facts. I did not have my fun facts.
Like if we
actually, That's not true. I have one fun fact is that the original Judge Dredd was supposed to be much more gory than it ended up being. And like the whole scene where my favorite robot man was like ripping off limbs because that was his favorite thing to do. That was actually like a thing in the original cut, and they had to take that out. And in the original cut, they also had Judge Dredd killing all of the clones. Coming out of like the thing and like really like an actual fight. I think that's also what messed me up about the first film that we watched, like the original Judge Dredd, is that I kept feeling like there were supposed to be good, violent moments of Judge Dredd as just that character. He is violent, he is camp, he is crazy.
I just want to put this in perspective.
Lawful, chaotic.
Judge Dredd and Terminator 2 are both rated R. Terminator 2 has some fucking
if you're gonna give it an
it.
R rating, give us the violence, please. I want to see that.
Yeah, it's weird that they didn't show the limbs getting like RoboCop level, you know, like some squibs and stuff. Not a ton of that. Even like Rob Schneider getting shot, it's like you just see a bloody shirt after he gets shot and stuff.
in that first sequence where he was busting skulls in the with those criminals with Rob Schneider, there were some good shots of like they'd get shot and then hit a wall and there'd be a good blood splatter behind them on the wall, but that's hardly like, it's not like viscera. No. It's not viscera or visceral.
It's not RoboCop level or Total Recall level where people are just getting shredded by bullets.
Yeah.
I think that if Paul Verhoeven had directed Judge Dredd, we would have had a much cooler experience.
It'd be more of a classic, because people always go, when you mention Judge Dredd in that, you know, hey, did you see this one sort of way? People are like, ugh. I guess, like, I liked it, but, like, I liked it as a kid because it's, like, a kid's movie that's rated R.
It seems to be, like, from what I understand and a little bit of research I got to do today before we filmed, it seems to be one of those movies that people either love it or they hate it, or they're right smack dab in the middle. And I feel like I'm right smack dab in the middle.
Yeah.
I can't fully figure out how I feel, but I know I loved a lot of it, and I know I hated a good amount of it.
I feel like I would watch it again, but I don't know when. I don't know when I'll watch this again, but I would watch this again. Yeah,
I had a good time.
It would have to be with people. I don't think I would want to watch this movie by myself. Maybe when I'm like falling asleep, I would put it on just to have that sort of comforting, explosive music of Alan Silvestri of his 90s era.
So good.
Yeah.
It's like, why? I just looked up, why is Judge Dredd rated R? I think it might have been hard for people to wrap their heads around, like, a police officer, like being a judge.
Being violent?
Yeah. That's how different it was then.
Wow,
maybe?
That's crazy.
What about RoboCop?
I guess.
Blowing people's heads off.
I wonder if RoboCop was, like, almost, like, so sci-fi that people were like, that is so not related to us.
I guess he's a robot. Yeah, he's not a human anymore. Except that's the whole point of RoboCop, is that he is still a human. He's Murphy.
So there's Judge Dredd, but he has no emotions because that ought to be against the law.
Judge Dredd is more of a robot than a robotic cop named RoboCop.
Yep.
There's a Wikipedia article I'm not going to get into. I'm going to read the headline about, so take this with a grain of salt. But TIL, the 1995 film Judge Dredd, was recut and sent to the MPAA 5 times to get it from an NC-17 to an R rating. And Stallone wanted it to get cut down to a PG-13. And
that's what I was reading. Okay.
Yeah, the director had made a film, dark and satirical, like the source material, but Stallone thought it was supposed to be an action comedy. So we got this like Frankenstein of like dark concepts but in the action comedy packaging, because it is an action comedy. It's fucking Rob Schneider one-lining after Stallone one-lines. Like it's a comedy.
I guess this is the difference between someone like Arnold Schwarzenegger and someone like Sylvester Stallone, is that Schwarzenegger will go into a movie like Total Recall where he's already at that star status level where he can make demands if he wants to, but he goes in and he trusts Paul Verhoeven to give him direction as a director, and he takes the direction and he acts in the way that he's being told to act. Whereas Sylvester Stallone will be like, "This is supposed to be funny. No, come on, he's a police officer who's a judge." Yeah. And you're like, okay. And I guess that's not great. You need to work as a unit, a team, and like if the director is giving you direction, you're supposed to take it because that's their job. And if you're a producer or whatever, if you're the headlining actor, and just because you think you can doesn't necessarily mean you should. Because if the director has a vision and you're working against it, you're not going to end up on the other side of the tunnel with a good artistic product. You're going to have some, like you said, Jason, like a Frankenstein's monster of a bunch of concepts and ideas that don't work together. To play devil's
advocate a little bit on that, though, it's like maybe if you do all the things you want to do and make Dredd, it skews the other way a little bit too much, where it's a little bit too like this is too gritty, like what you were saying earlier. Like it's
I think that trust also has to be earned, right? Like if you look at the director who did Dredd, and you look at the stuff that he's done before. He's worked as a team on television shows a lot, where he's directing an episode of a show, which means that he has to take
with a whole new cast and like all new people and being like.
But also there'll be like a showrunner takes over and is in charge of all of the show as a so that's essentially the director of the directors, right? Is like the showrunner. So you're not even the one who has the full steam ahead vision. You're just part of a machine for a season of a television show. Yeah, it's crazy. It's like you look at any movie that has like a messy creation, and usually it doesn't end well for the movie. When you hear like, oh yeah, that was a mess, rarely does it come out the other end where it's like, oh, it actually works.
It's also like a tricky thing too, because like as someone who is on the acting side, not the director side, I think there should be definitely a dialogue between actor and director and screenwriter. They should all be on the same page. And I think all of your voices should be heard within it. But at the end of the day, it's not about fighting the vision. It's about if you like have a moment, you are the character, you're playing the character. If something doesn't make sense, you should voice that and be like, why is this happening? And if
of course.
It's just for... If it shouldn't make sense, that's fine. Just tell me and I'll just go with it. Or maybe we can kind of finagle something and rework a moment, just like maybe act it slightly different.
Right. I think
it's a team effort, but the director is still the head of the project.
Of course. A lot of the time, though, in my experience, like actors will be insular in terms of their character, and they'll have an idea of their character outside of the grand scheme of the story. So I always think of this story that I heard about Tommy Lee Jones working on the first Men in Black movie. And the director, the writer, they all had this vision for what Men in Black was meant to be, and Tommy Lee Jones just didn't get the concept. He's like, it's a comedy, so I have to be funny. So and he was like trying to be funny and wacky, and it was like it wasn't working, so they would let him do his shit, and then they would be like, okay, now do it just completely straight and boring and flat. And he would, and then at the end of the day, I think it was like the first week of shooting, they showed Tommy Lee Jones like, okay, this is what you were doing, and this is what we want you to do. And then Tommy Lee Jones was like, it's like that episode of It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia where like if slow pans on Frank and he's like, oh my god, I get it. He's like, it's way funnier when I'm like if I listen to you, what we're gonna get in the end will work. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, anyway,
communication is key, but also know what you're getting into.
And like it's also sometimes an actor will come to you with notes and it'll be something that you didn't even think of, and then you're like, yeah, let's try that. I didn't even consider that, and then there is a collaboration there. But
also,
like
if it's garbage, throw it out. Like that's fine. But like maybe let's try something, and if it's shitty, it's shitty. Well,
I remember I was directing this short film like years and years ago, like 16 years ago now, and or 15 years ago. And this actor came to me with notes on his character, and it was like just wild shit that I was like, okay, no, like this is fucked. Like the character was just supposed to be like essentially like an assistant / bodyguard for like the main character of the movie. And he came to me with these notes that he had written like the night before, and I read it, and it was just like this crazy shit. He's like, the character is a torturer. I'm like, I don't think so.
That's a different storyline.
Yeah, what movie are you in, man?
Yeah.
I mean, like, I liked the ideas that he had, just not for
Dwight's
that character.
Notes in the Threat Level Midnight, where he
wants to be a robot.
Yeah, it's like you're not a robot. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. Anyway, it's like it can work, and then other times it's just like this actor has gone off in some crazy direction that you never even thought possible, because it doesn't fit into the story. But yeah, collaboration, man. if you're not collaborating with your team, then you're basically working against each other and you're sabotaging
and it's
yourself.
not going to work.
No, and Dredd felt like it was a lot more collaborative, and Judge Dredd felt like a giant, like the
shoulder
producer. Yeah, the producers were all over that thing for sure.
It was too many cooks in the kitchen, I think,
Yeah.
is what it was. It was just like the newer Dredd. Everybody was on the same page, it seemed like.
Yeah.
They were like, I know the vibe. I know what I'm
like
looking
a
at. I
small
know my job.
Toronto production, so all the extras and shit probably all knew each other.
Oh, and they were also amazing. The extras were amazing. But in the original, it was like, I think that there was just like a bunch of disjointed parts. And it's, I think, again, partially production and communication and egos getting in the way of each other and cramming in too many things at the same time. Those ideas were all really good. Like, that's the thing. I was like in and out of it because I was like, oh, that's really cool. And then you lost me a second later because now I can't follow.
And as much
I followed too much and I've now called the entire movie.
As much as Judge Dredd was a vehicle for Stallone, it also was weirdly a vehicle for Rob Schneider to just do comedy chops the whole time.
Yeah,
you know,
and
it overshadows the actor who played Rico, Armand Assante or whatever.
That ending scene when he was talking in front of like all the clone kind of tubes.
He's got chops,
good.
Man.
Yeah, I was super invested.
He understood the assignment. It's like what was I watching recently where it was like. Literally last week, Masters of the Universe, the guy who played Skeletor and the guy who played Man at Arms.
Frank Langella.
Frank Langella and the guy that played Man at Arms, like they understood the assignment, and they had people like acting around.
And they're also actors, like they're good actors.
Actors, kind of characters.
They're being cast because of their acting ability. It's like Max von Sydow in this movie.
Max von Sydow, yeah.
Everything that comes out of his mouth, you believe because he is a very good actor.
You're a storyteller at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Tell a story, and that's the job.
Telling me the tale.
And even that guy,
Judge Dredd.
Maurice Roves, or is that the guy that you said kind of looks like I thought he looked like the German guy, and you were like, he reminds me of Arnold Schwarzenegger. That guy was like acting.
With the shaky face.
Shaky face man, yeah.
Yeah, he was good. I liked him. I believed him, too.
He's in Beer Fest.
There was something about his level.
He's like
of
the
commitment.
evil man who wants the recipe or whatever.
Good for him.
I want that recipe.
Okay. That's great.
I don't know. I liked it. He also like gave that kind of camp level as well. Like it was a little bit over the top.
Yeah.
But I still believed that he was that level of over the top.
He's also in The Keep. Michael Mann's The Keep.
So
there's a movie called The
dragon
Keep
movie?
that came out in it's Nazis in World War II find a keep, like a castle basically, and they turn it into a bunker, like a base of operation. But these Nazis start to realize that there's silver all over, these like little silver bricks in the walls everywhere, so they start to steal it. And then they realize that like the walls are thicker inside the keep than they are on the outside of the keep, and they realize that it's not a keep to keep people out; it's a keep to keep something in. Okay. And then they realize that there's like a crazy demon like
Torture
inside
shit.
in the keep.
Wait, I think I've seen that movie. I think Scott showed me that movie.
It's an '80s movie.
Yeah, he's in it.
And it was amazing.
Ian McKellen's in it too.
Yeah,
and he's young Ian McKellen.
Sexual Ian McKellen.
I mean, and when I say young, he's like 50. I don't know. But I watched The Keep not too long ago, and it is bananas. It's not great, but it's not bad. It's weird. And I did fall asleep for, I think, like 20 minutes, and I woke up, and the movie was completely different. Not a single one of the actors was the same. I was like, where'd all the other actors go? I assume they got
kept.
Yeah.
Interestingly, it's interesting.
You guys want to see something fun?
I thought that Jurgen.
He's never made an appearance, but this is my cat.
Oh man, Cat's 2 weeks in a row. We got Cat's
Tim's
2 weeks
cat
in a
was
row.
going bananas last week in the background.
That's fantastic. What's up, Cat?
Sorry, I had to show her off. She was like crawling all over me, and I was like,
cats get clicks.
Be on camera
on the internet. Hello, internet.
And this week's guest, a cat.
A cat.
Her
Let's
name
just
is
have a
Luna.
cat on and just have it in frame and the keeper of the cat to just push it back in frame. I thought that Jorgen Porchnau looked a lot like Christoph Waltz. I just need to get that out of my brain.
Oh, right. You did say that. Yeah. And I disagreed.
Yeah.
But, fair.
I don't think he looks anything like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
So. I didn't say that he looks like him. I said he reminds me of him. Okay. I didn't say he looks like him in any way. He has the same cadence. Vibes. I think he's also Austrian, so that's why they have this similar accent. Bruh. We need to take Jason's privileges away because he is rude with it, and I don't like it. All right, I'm leaving, and I'm never coming back.
I'm
to the
sorry.
podcast.
Please don't quit the podcast.
Oh, that means I get more podcast episodes.
No, that means
Steven's gone. I can fully outnumber him.
Oh, if Steve leaves, you're fully coming on as the ringer.
Okay.
I'm back. I was just joking.
We'll only watch musicals and really bad B-list.
Oh God, yeah, that's my nightmare.
I have a question. This is very off topic, but have you guys ever seen Stay Alive?
Stay Alive. I think I have.
That sounds familiar.
Horror movie from early 2010-ish.
Oh, I have seen this.
Early 2000s.
It's about that lady who bathes in blood or whatever.
Elizabeth Bathory, one of my all-time favorite hyperfixations. Also, my vampire character.
I have not, but it's got.
It's a video game.
Frankie
it's like
Muniz.
they play a video game and they die in the game.
If you die in the game, you die in real life.
It's got Milo Ventimiglia. It's got Jimmy Simpson.
Sophia Bush.
And
And what's his name? Oh, maybe you already said. He played Phineas, and he was also in Westworld. He was great.
Milo Ventimiglia.
Is that his name? Maybe?
The guy from the This Is Us and Heroes.
Different guy. Redhead?
No. Are you thinking of Adam Goldberg?
No, I'm thinking of the blonde guy.
Oh, John Foster.
I'm about Jimmy Simpson, the guy from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
I said Jimmy Simpson.
Thank you.
I said it.
I know, but Cass kept saying Westworld and other shows, but you guys did not make the connection that you were talking about the same person.
Adam Goldberg's in it. The Jew. What the fuck was that movie called? The Jewish. Shaft movie,
but he's the boss guy.
The Hebrew Hammer.
I need you guys to add that to your list immediately, and then call me when you do it. If you ever do another
Stay Alive, yeah, we should do weird horror movies. I was thinking about adding a chapter to the Grimoire of Familiar Killers of just weird or one-off horror movies.
I mean, it's Halloween season coming up, which is my season.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, we're doing we have our bi-yearly or biannual Grimoire of Familiar Killers. We open the Grimoire to add a chapter.
Beautiful.
Very soon.
Anyway, sorry, this is very off topic, but I
this is
get it out of my brain.
Let's wrap this show up because we haven't talked about Judge Dredd in like 5
now
minutes.
We're just talking about random horror movies from 2002.
So there is a segment we do each and every week on this show, and it's our Final Thoughts segment. And of course, I have to click around and talk over myself clicking around to find.
He's looking for time. He can't find it.
He's never stalled one.
He's never prepared.
It's time for our final thoughts.
Whoa, you didn't even let it play out?
I clicked and it just.
This guy presses fart buttons and bra buttons. He can't let the final thoughts recording play till the end.
It was an accident, Steve. I'm sorry.
No, you're a saboteur. I know it. People think you're all right, and you ask, and you're not. You're not all right. Okay.
Okay. Cass, why don't you give us your final thoughts first, because guests go first on this show.
My final thought, am I giving both movies, I guess?
I think. Do your best.
I think. Okay.
Listen, this was supposed to be the Judge Dredd episode, but we talked about Dredd.
Then you invited me, and we were like, we must watch both.
Yes.
The Dredd-filled episode.
Filled with Dredd. Final thoughts. First movie, first time watching it yesterday, I was both conflicted and happy and upset. There were a lot of emotions within it, but also I had a good time. It was lovely. I feel like the costume design was amazing. The whole aesthetic was amazing. The robot was the best. Should I include my pros and cons in this, or things I should have seen? What do you think?
I mean, we got rid of that, but if you want to, you can do whatever you want. It's your time.
Okay, it's my time.
You
I'm
just
start the show for
you
one
just don't
moment.
have to be like what went well and say a thing, and then even better because we've trimmed some fat.
Obtuse
I
bullshit
love that.
segments that we had that made no sense.
So my whole actual final thought is that I really liked it. I also got weirdly bored halfway through and then found my way back.
Yeah.
Original movie, I really wish that there was more violence, honestly. I think that Judge Dredd is a violent character and should be portrayed that way. I think that's kind of what gives him his justice area and where he falters in that.
That's what he
justice
calls
area.
his basement. He doesn't call it a man
It's
cave. He calls it
justice
his
area.
It's the justice area. He calls all of his justice friends and they become the Justice League. No, I wanted it to be more violent, and I wanted more comedy that was like dry comedy. I feel like there was a little bit like too much like shtick, like we're doing a bit, and I wanted. Sorry, I broke Steven.
No, you broke Steve with the Justice Friends thing.
So sorry.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. That's
And they form a Justice League. That
no,
very
it's
good.
just like the idea of him instead of saying like this is my man cave and going out to his garage.
This
This is my
area.
justice area.
You want to come to my Justice area?
Got a mini fridge and a dartboard.
It's like crime scene tape around the whole.
He takes Hershey to his Justice area.
God.
Oh,
Okay.
Hershey's Kiss.
Sorry.
It's
That-
okay.
That
I
made
didn't
me
mean
laugh
to break
almost as
you.
hard as the Black Phone episode. Jesus. Anyway,
Yeah.
sorry about that. Every once in a while, I have a mental breakdown and can't stop laughing.
Yeah, that's joy. Actually, that's a good
No.
emotion to have.
Or I'm just manic. Who knows?
Maybe
Yeah.
still joy. I think at the end of the day,
Manic joy.
manic joy.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I wish that I wish we had more violence. I wish we had more like dry humor. I think it was just too shticky. I felt like I was like watching a bit of an SNL almost like parody sometimes, which is fine. I loved it in The Fifth Element where it was like, oh, we get like full crazy comedy moments, but it was matched differently. I don't know. I had a good time. Second Dredd, which is my baby. Could it be better? Yes. Do I want it to change? No. I really liked that Dredd was not the lead. I liked it being this like really cool female character that saw a bunch of things and at the end of the day dropped her badge and was like, I hate this. This is gross. I'm going to go do my own thing because whatever this is messed up. And I'm better than this. I actually have empathy and emotions, which ought to be outlawed. So, yeah. Final thoughts. More helmets, more violence, more comedy.
Yeah. I always heard the well, I mean,
More
I always
helmets.
heard the criticism of this movie was that he takes his helmet off.
Yeah.
But
Too much.
it makes sense in the context of the movie why he doesn't have his helmet. Like,
But they had
take
to
it away
write the
from
movie
him.
like that.
They
do
had
that
to make
for him.
I
that.
understand, but within the context of him being arrested, which is the story of the movie, they wouldn't let him keep his helmet, and I don't think he would be finding like a bucket, like cutting
That
a
would be
mouthful out of
amazing,
it.
though. That would probably happen in the Seth Rogen
Yeah,
version.
he feels
Yeah.
so self-conscious when he's not wearing his helmet. He has to like turn other objects into a helmet.
It's like when Daredevil has like the black costume in the Netflix series.
Yeah.
Clark Griswold came through and says, "I am the law."
I am the law.
Who is that? I wonder.
He's the law.
It's Chevy Chase.
Oh, right.
He's the fan of the show.
course.
Yeah.
Clark Griswold says, "Don't know how many times that's been yelled, but another cannot hurt."
Yeah.
I didn't break the law. I am the law.
I am the law. It's so good. What a lovely moment.
And Tim says bucket 100%. Also, Tim earlier said Stallone in Guardians 3 was unintelligible, which I can kind of agree with.
I forgot he's in it. I don't remember what he does.
He's Gamora's homie.
He's there.
Gamora's
I
fake
know
dad.
who he is, but I just don't remember like him any lines that he says or anything, or else I'd be doing an impression of it right now.
This is sorry. I don't mean to interrupt your any final thoughts, but doesn't Stallone have like a whole like
It's
fighting
still
or like
technically your final
karate
thought.
class thing that he
I think-
does?
Isn't that? I think you're talking about Steven Seagal.
No, it's a different. Like all of these people are the same in my brain.
I don't think that he has a fighting class, but maybe he does.
Maybe
I
it
don't know.
is Seagal.
Clark Griswold
Anyway,
says,
never mind.
I've definitely
It's
seen Steven
Robert
Seagal
De Niro's Steven Seagal.
yeah, in a karate getup doing
Sylvester
flipping people
Stallone.
over his shoulder or whatever.
Clark Griswold back with another great line. If I can understand Sly without subtitles, I riot.
Yeah, I mean, I did turn the subtitles on last night. So I guess I'll go into my final thoughts
Yeah,
here.
Cass, if
Do
you're,
it up.
that's what I was saying. Like, Cass, technically, you interrupted your own final thoughts with stuff.
That's just the story of my ADHD brain, right there.
Stallone
I
and
interrupt
De Niro
myself
are the
all-
same person brain
Yep,
somehow.
but I will pass it off.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I'll just be reiterating what I've said throughout the entirety of the show. I think that both of these movies are fun, and I think they're both worth a watch. The 95 version might not be your cup of tea, and the 2012 version might not be your cup of tea, but I do think there's a little bit in both for anybody.
Yep.
I actually regret not doing a little bit more of a deep dive on the history of the making of these movies, because I guarantee you there's probably some interesting stories in there somewhere, because both movies they had drastically different budgets, even in terms of like inflation from one to the other. The budget for the 2012 was minuscule compared to what the budget was for this, and you can kind of see it on screen in terms of just visual flair from the 95 to the conservative filmmaking of 2012, where you could tell that they had to pinch every penny, but they did a really good job. The costume design in both is probably the standout. The CGI in this movie, at the beginning of the movie, we were all like, that doesn't look that bad, and then we're like, oh wait, never mind. Yeah, ugh. You got too close to the camera. Yeah, but the costumes throughout the movie in this, and just the art design overall, we've already said it a million times, that robot rules. We want a whole movie about just the robot wandering
It
the
deserves
wastelands.
the whole like love moment, like love story, finding
Yeah.
himself, living life.
Finding a lady robot with like a blonde wig on, like
Same.
it looks exactly the same. Just,
Yeah,
Just with a blonde wig.
he deserves it.
I do wish that we got a little bit more Max von Sydow, just because he is such a good actor, and I was excited when he got exiled. I'm like, oh, he's going to Dune. He's going out to wander the wastes. And then he
And then he
shows up to
dies.
save them, and then he just dies immediately. Or he doesn't die, he gets mortally wounded very quickly. And you know, like, he's a judge too. He was probably trained in massive amounts of combat and was probably pretty good. So to just die like that was kind of bullshit. But at the same time, they needed to move along the story and continuously pack it out with a whole clone story that we're like, does it need to be this crazy? I don't know. Maybe
They
it's
were
getting
like,
too
it's
crazy.
the Clone Wars. It's
Yeah.
Star Wars again.
But yeah, I don't know. I think, again, overall, I enjoy both of these movies for completely different reasons, and I think that I've said it before, I will watch this movie again. I'm sure of it in the future. I just don't know when. It'll have to be a particular hit. But the 2012 version I could put on all the time, because it's almost a background noise to me at this point, where I just enjoy having it on, and I can look over and be like, oh, this is the part where he has to fight a bunch of people in a smoky hallway. This is when the other judges show up for his bounty. That was another thing that I did like in the 2012 version, is that they did show the corruption of the police, and how, they're not perfect. They're these crappy human beings that, if somebody tosses a bounty down for them, they don't have any morals. They're willing to murder one of their own, I guess, colleagues for a couple of thousand credits, or I don't even know what the bounty was, but it was big, wasn't it? She puts a bounty on his head pretty much immediately when he walks in the building, and then everybody tries to kill
10,000
him.
or 20,000 credits or something. Yeah.
But even the other cops are trying to like cash in
Which
on that
with
bounty.
inflation is like,
Yeah.
that's a lot of money.
When it comes to a rating for these movies, yeah, I don't know. I want to give it 2 giant shoulder pads out of 2, maybe, or maybe a big big boy badge. Yeah, I don't have a great one this week, but I give this movie a big boy badge, but it gets taken away, and then you find it again at the end.
That's pretty good. All right, great. I think overall, this movie is both of these movies are best enjoyed not writing notes. I had a lot more. I think ironically, I retained more from Dredd than I did taking notes for Judge Dredd, because I kept missing the conversations that you were having because I was trying to do my due diligence taking notes. But both movies are great sitting down and talking with friends.
Yeah.
As far as Judge Dredd itself goes, I liked it. I thought that it was the right amount of camp and the right amount of action and fun. I think the major issue is, especially after reading a bit about Dredd, the character, in general, is that they got the characterization a lot more right in the 2012-2013 version, but it sapped a lot of the campy fun because they tried to stay true to that source material. I think these two films sort of belong together as a double feature, which I said earlier. And if you could somehow Frankenstein them together, it would be a fantastic comic book adaptation. I hope we get the rumored TV show or movie, because there's a lot more story left to tell. But after the conversation we had around the middle of the episode, it's kind of can they really tell this story without, you have to make him basically Peacemaker. That was a really good point, Steve.
Yeah.
You kind of have to make Peacemaker and Judge Dredd. You kind of have to make Peacemaker, but he's in a cyberpunk grit world.
Yeah, there's too much going on right now for you to take this character off the page and put it onto the screen. Which is
we need to grow a bit more
because he's a fun character, but again, it's just the climate. Once the world matures a little bit more, maybe we can have fun again. But for now, we can leave Judge Dredd on the bookshelf until we figure the world out.
But
which might take forever.
Apropos of nothing, basically, Clark Griswold says one can spend worse nights than a double feature of Judge Dredd and Demolition Man. So that's actually a pretty good point. Those two movies are very similar.
I thought they were the same movie.
Comically
for a while.
different in a lot of ways. So I thought Three Shells was from Judge Dredd, but it's actually from Demolition Man.
Right, my allergies are starting to kick in.
My allergies.
You always do.
My allergies.
I give Judge Dredd a 3.3 out of 5, and I give Dredd a 2.9 out of 5, and only because
sorry,
I know
that escaped me.
Yeah,
I know. I tried to
I find that review to be dreadful.
I tried to exemplify how I felt about the I liked Judge Dredd better for what it did, fair. And I liked Dredd a lot, but I liked the version of him in the campier movie. I liked that better overall than the sort of
with his 3-inch heels or whatever on his boots
and his spandex attire.
Yeah.
I sentence these movies to watch each other is my final rating.
Okay.
Oh, ooh. Look at
That's how you create a black hole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I sentence you to watch Dredd.
Oh my god, he's created some sort of
Judge Dredd.
Gravitational rift.
So that's our show this week. Cass, thank you for coming on.
Thanks for coming. Yeah.
Thank you for showing me the OG of something that I just really loved as a teen. It's very cool.
Mm-hmm. We do have a.
Where it came from. I also will say, you guys talk about a lot of movies, and I might have said this before, but I was very sheltered when it came to a lot of movies and media. So when you guys reference things that everybody should have seen, I haven't seen it. And it's very, very cool, and I'm excited to watch more stuff with you guys and be like, it's my first time watching this.
Well, yeah, Wednesday,
I have no idea.
Anytime that you're on or anytime that you just want to come, if we do the Wednesday movie, just come watch movies, even if you're not on the episode or whatever. And also, we should just have, once a month, we hang out on a Friday or Saturday night, the lot of us, and just get buck wild and watch a couple movies, that would be fun, too. And
we're also thinking about doing a field trip where we go check out the Rocky Horror Interactive or whatever.
The interactive thing.
Please invite me. I would love that so much.
There's one coming. I was looking at Rocky Horror today for some reason, and I noticed that there's, it's always playing in October.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks, Tim. Tim says, great show. Cass, do you have anything you want to promote?
Right now? I don't think so. I don't know. I just did a thing, but I don't know what I'm allowed to promote with it
okay.
yet.
That's fair.
But like we'll chat later.
Soon.
Maybe I'll promote something next time. Maybe on my 5th episode if I make it that far.
Hey, four-time club. Welcome to the 4-time club. And Steve, can you tell Cass to ask us a question, please?
Do you have a question for us?
Oh, I have questions for both of you.
What's the question?
Have you seen this one?
Did that work out?
Did
Right, they said, have you seen this one?
Have you seen this one?
That's what we should have changed the name of the show to.
Yeah.
Have you seen this one?
It's okay.
I went with it. I was
yeah,
like,
that's fine. People will get
line?
it. It's worse if you say something like that at the beginning of the episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was good. That was a good episode. I was worried that we were going to talk forever because it was 2 movies, but I wouldn't mind doing another double feature at some point.
Yeah.
We should do Friday the 13th and the Friday the 13th remake.